ESPN Upstate.
And away we go, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. The big show is on the radio. This is ESPN Upstate. What up, Upstate South Carolina? Tremendous to be with you one more time again. My name is Rob Brown. How's it going? Hope you're well. Hope you didn't stay up too late last night watching that absolute beatdown of a national championship game. Of course, Alonzo and I we just nailed the pick. We both said what we both said. We both said yesterday, Baylor by 40. We both tried to tell y'all.
That's what we do here.
Yeah,
That's
man.
absolutely what we do.
We both nailed that pick. Both of us were like, hey, Baylor's going to run away with this thing. There's no chance the undefeated Bulldogs can hang with the two-loss Bears. No chance. That's exactly what we said. I remember it like it was yesterday, Lonzo. I remember both of us predicting Baylor to go big time, and here we are.
Give me a little time, and I can make us say that.
No, we, like the rest of America and like the Gonzaga Bulldogs, look directly past the Baylor Bears, who ran roughshod over the Zags yesterday. I don't know if he's watching today, but my man Ron, who has implanted himself squarely on the Zaga train. He has been a Zaga fan for many years that I have known him, and he has followed the show. He and the rest of Zag Nation sitting back today, looking at Sports Center, a little punch drunk, trying to figure out what in the blue hell went wrong with the Bulldogs yesterday. And I have a litany of reasons that Gonzaga ended up not just taking the L yesterday, but getting absolutely smacked in the mouth and not having a response to it. We're going to break that game down coming up in a little while. Obviously, just a couple of hours after we went off of the air yesterday, the Carolina Panthers have found they dude, Sam Darnold, coming down from New Jersey to take over as the signal caller in chief under center for the Carolina Panthers. At least we think so. Can he be beaten out for that job by Teddy Bridgewater? Are the Panthers still in the hunt for a QB in the draft? We're going to talk about that coming up a little while later in the broadcast. The NBA looking at a potential rule change that could indeed change the game. The way that attackers attack defenders. There is a chance that the NBA is about to see a massive overhaul in the way that the game gets played if this rule change goes through. I'll tell you about that coming up in a little while. And of course, towards the end of the show, we're going to do our WrestleMania segment. We're talking WrestleMania all week long on the broadcast today as we head towards the biggest week in professional wrestling. Lots of shows. We get kicked off tomorrow evening. We'll talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw from last night, the go-home show before we end up at WrestleMania this weekend. We've got, of course, NXT TakeOver, AEW Dynamite. You know, they're going to try to put on a big show coming up tomorrow in order to draw some of the eyeballs that are all geeked up for the wrestling right now. That's all coming up later on in the show at 1:20 this afternoon. I told y'all we'd try to get him. The interview has been landed. Kevin Marshall of FCS Nation is going to join us at 1:20 this afternoon. We'll talk a little bit about what has gone wrong with Furman football this year and what impact Wofford College deciding to cancel the rest of their season has on the rest of the FCS landscape headed towards the postseason. Kevin Marshall joins us at 1:20. Then at 2:00, Miss Savannah Leigh, our PGA Tour insider from the Brunswick News. Savannah Leigh will join us coming up at 2:00 this afternoon as it is Masters Week. Time to get down to brass tacks with Augusta this weekend. So Savannah joins us at 2:00. It is going to be a very busy day on the broadcast today. How can I get in touch with you, Rob? Well, I'm glad you asked, hypothetical listener who just threw that question at me hypothetically. It's very simple to do so. Phone lines are open for you. 844-GSP, ESPN 844-477-3776. Text us at 71 71307. 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. The text line is up and running. Text us at 71307. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, and at ESPN Upstate. All the different ways to get in touch with us on the broadcast today. With all of that being said, we are slammed up busy today. So, Zoe, let's get it started.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
It is the lunch breakdown, the three biggest things going on in the world of sports right now. This will be the scuttlebutt around the lunch table, whether you're spending your lunch with a friend's coworkers or the dog, whoever you take your midday break with. These are the things that you are going to need to know. We start with item number one. We found out yesterday after we went off the air that the New York Jets have traded quarterback Sam Darnold for the Carolina Panthers in return for 3 draft picks. In return for Darnold, the number 3 overall draft pick back in 2018, the Jets have received 3 picks, a 6th rounder this year, a 2nd rounder, and a 4th rounder next year. The Jets are expected to select Darnold's replacement with the number 2 overall pick in the April 29th draft in Cleveland. The leading candidate right now, according to most experts, seems to be Zach Wilson out of BYU, who has been meeting virtually with the Jets multiple times over the past few weeks. If the Jets do select a quarterback at number 2, they would become the first team in the common draft era since 1967 to select 2 quarterbacks within the top 3 overall picks in a 4-year span, according to ESPN. The Panthers, on the other hand, they said that talks with Jets heated up at Ohio State's Pro Day back on the 30th of March. They've continued over the Easter weekend. Ohio State's Pro Day came 3 days after the Niners traded up to number 3, reducing the odds of Carolina getting a QB that they wanted at number 8. Fitterer said he liked Sam Darnold coming out of USC because of his mobility, his ability to push the ball down the field, and that the trade will allow the Panthers to take the best available with number 8, even if that is still a quarterback. So if a Justin Fields was to fall down to 8, spoiler alert, he won't. They may still very well take another quarterback to pair alongside Sam Darnold, who has 1 year remaining on his rookie contract with guaranteed salary and bonuses totaling around $4.6 million. The Panthers have already decided on picking up the 5th-year option for 2022, the predetermined amount at $18.8 million fully guaranteed. He was due to count $9.8 million on the Jets cap, but they get $4.8 in relief and $5 million worth of dead money charge for 2021. Carolina has been looking to upgrade from Teddy Bridgewater. We know that. We knew that they were in for Matt Stafford as they tried to trade the number 8 overall pick to Detroit straight up for him. He was ultimately sent to LA. They were also in the mix for Deshaun Watson, but obviously those 22 lawsuits have kind of come to a head and prevented that from happening. The rumor is that Carolina has told Teddy Bridgewater that he is welcome to begin discussing trades to other teams down the line. But Sam Darnold, now a Carolina Panther, Lonzo, and I got to tell you, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. A lot of the experts grading this out to a C-, C+, somewhere in that range move. I'm giving them a solid B, not B- or B+, just a solid B for this move. I think there's a lot of untapped potential. By the way, just for funsies, though, Sam Darnold is younger than Mac Jones. That's right, that Mac Jones. Guy who's likely to be taken off the board in the top 7 picks. Sam Darnold is younger than Mac Jones. I love this move for the Panthers, though. If Sam Darnold pans out, now they've got the 8 to take best available or to trade back and bring in a haul to support him. I like this move by the Carolina Panthers, Lonzo.
Yeah, you know what? So do I, and I'm glad that they did it this early. So now if they do want to trade back and get some more picks, they got plenty of time to do it. And the other thing is, people are saying that Sam Darnold's washed up. You just mentioned how old he is. He's not that old. And unlike some other quarterbacks who have been on really bad teams, he hasn't been beat half to death, and he doesn't look like when he gets out there like deer in the headlights. So if he gets in, he's coming to a better team, absolutely a better team with better weapons. If they can shore up the offensive line a little bit, if CMC comes back and he's healthy and ready to go, you got some good receivers. If they make this defense better, which it looks like they're working on, I think they're a playoff contender with Sam Darnold under center, and I cannot wait to see what he's able to do. I would definitely an upgrade.
Agreed entirely. And we're going to break that down a little bit deeper coming up in the next segment of the show. So Panthers fans, stick around for that because I got a lot of hot takes all queued up and ready to go. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown today. It was a wild game last night, and the Baylor Bears found themselves on the leading edge between those two. It ended up courtesy of CBS and Jim Nantz sounding like this.
This will do it. This will do it. Scott Drew's dream comes true. Coach Drew and Baylor complete college basketball's greatest rebound and rebuild with a championship.
Baylor ends up all over Gonzaga. It was that way from the get-go. It never slowed down. Within 4 minutes of the tip of that game, Baylor had already built up a double-digit lead, and they never looked back. Gonzaga put together a couple of runs here and there, but at the end of the night, 86-70 in favor of the Baylor Bears. They were shooting at a basket that must have felt like it was 10 feet wide. Everything they threw up went in, shot exceptionally well from behind the arc. And even when the Zags looked good, and they had a couple of periods within that game where they really did look good, it didn't matter. Even when things went right for the Zags, they went more righter for the Baylor Bears. In fact, at one point, Drew Timme was able to cause a turnover. Kistler went out of bounds for it. Never gave up on the play. A beautiful basketball play with the tip. Launched himself out of bounds. Threw it behind his back to save it. It looked like the Zags had found a momentum. And what happens? Nothing. 2 Baylor Bears throw themselves in between the pass, pick it off, throw it underneath for the layup and one. And what should have been a Zags turnover ends up being a Baylor 3-point play, building onto that lead. Zoe, we're going to have more breakdown of this game and how it played out. But suffice to say, Baylor, I gave them 3 keys to the game yesterday. They did all of them. Knock down the free throws, wipe up the offensive glass, which you are not known for, and prevent Gonzaga from playing transition ball. They checked all 3 boxes. They win the game. Sometimes I astound myself with how smart I am, even if I pick the wrong team to win.
You know, they talk about a perfect storm. That was a perfect storm yesterday. Baylor just came in and they just went at their throats and didn't stop the entire time. You're right. There were a couple runs where Gonzaga looked like they had settled down and they were coming back, and then Baylor turned it on the entire game. It was never really in question from tip-off to the final buzzer. Baylor dominated Gonzaga. And it didn't seem like it would be possible, but they absolutely did. And what a great game if you're a Baylor fan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. At one point in the first half, the Zags found themselves down 19. They closed the gap down to 10 at halftime, and everybody, myself included, was saying, watch out, the Zags are going to come screaming back in the second half. Baylor was ready. Baylor had solidified the foundation. The defense works had been put in place. Zags crashed every bit of offense and artillery they had at Baylor, and ultimately it did not matter. We'll break this game down further later on in the show. And finally, item number 3, and this one I'm very excited about seeing how it plays out. But Shams Charania of The Athletic is reporting that the NBA Competition Committee is considering potential modifications for next season, such as evaluating whether to recommend to Board of Governors to modify coaches' challenges by either awarding a second challenge if successful or ensuring teams keep timeouts in case of a successful challenge. Sources said the NBA Competition Committee is also evaluating playing rules and interpretation of rules regarding unnatural shooting motions in connection with perimeter jump shots and all-ball screens and the principle of verticality. That is to say, they are talking about potentially, Lonzo, and something that I'm very, very interested in, not awarding fouls in cases where a jump shot goes through an unnatural shooting progression. What does that mean? Well, you throw up a pump fake, the defender jumps straight up in the air, and instead of shooting a jump shot, you jump into the guy and just kind of push the ball up at the rim to draw a foul, something that NBA shooting forwards have excelled at over the past couple of years. Well, now they are talking about potentially taking that out of play where it would not be ruled a foul. In fact, could it even be modified to become an offensive foul, to become a charge, if a player was to change and go through an unnatural shooting motion in order to not draw contact, because it's one thing to draw contact, but to create contact. And I actually like this rule change. As good as I am with games getting up into the 110s, 120s in the NBA, sure, and I know Lonzo's a fan as well, at the end of the day, I'm a defensive basketball guy. I love good defensive basketball. And if a defender has real estate and goes vertical and an offensive player jumps into them to create contact, well, if a defender creates contact of any type, it's a foul. Why is it not the same the other way around? Charania of The Athletic, Zoe, reporting that it might be a foul moving forward, and I am here for it.
My question is, what took them so long? I mean, guys have been taking advantage of this for years, and I never really thought about it as basically a charge, but that is what it is, because they're jumping right into that guy to create contact when they're shooting the ball, and sometimes it is so blatant, and you're just like, come on, ref, why are you letting them do that? So if this becomes something that they enforce, that's the thing. It's one thing to have the rule. It's another thing to enforce it. If they actually enforce it, this will be a really good deal for the NBA.
100%. I am absolutely here for it. I think it's got the spirit of the game involved with it. I like the idea. I'm great with the added benefits for coaches' challenges, but the change to the offensive strategy of taking away defensive fouls. If an offensive player is to jump into a defensive player, I've always said that is creating contact, and a foul in basketball is creating unnecessary contact. Why do offensive players get all of the benefits there? That may not be the case anymore. We'll talk about this later on in the show as well. Gonna be busy. Want you to be a part of it. 844-GSP, ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN so that we can read them on the air. My name is Rob Brown. That's Lonzo in charge of the show. We're back after this on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
Got music for
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your phone everywhere on the radio.com app. Download the app and make ESPN Upstate a favorite for 24/7 real unfiltered sports talk.
Say about my friends at QC Kinetics right here in the Upstate. Listen, for years and years, elite top-level athletes have traveled literally around the world in order to receive the same non-surgical regenerative therapies that are now available to us, the everyday blue-collar Joes right here in the Upstate. And those athletes made those travel plans, went through that travel, got the therapy, because they know that as they utilize their body in a physical way, that knees and elbows and hips and lower backs, they wear, they tear, and they start to hurt. Well, your body, when you are younger, knows how to fix that problem. It knows how to regenerate the material that's needed to keep you feeling, well, frankly, normal and healthy. But as you age, that process slows down. And many of us, myself included, have been told that the only solution is to get sliced and diced and to have outside material added into your body. No mas, my friends, no longer, thanks to QC Kinetics non-surgical regenerative therapies. They accelerate, they maximize the efficiency of your body's natural healing process, and they do it without having to cut you open. And they can do that for you now right here in the upstate. If you want to learn more about the science behind it, you can go to their website at qckinetics.com, qckinetics.com, or give them a call at 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get that free consultation set up at 864-448-3772 with our friends at QC Kinetics right here in the upstate.
AutomotiveMap.com presents.
So, Rob, I feel like we need to apologize about something. You and I both dropped the ball on something, and that we didn't realize was happening.
And that is?
There is not a night off in wrestling. Tonight at 8 o'clock on Peacock, Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's right. The Hall of Fame ceremony.
And I forget, you're so used to it happening the night before WrestleMania, and that's probably the reason why we didn't really think about it, but it's actually on tonight at 8 o'clock. So on behalf of Rob, I am sorry. So there is 7 days of wrestling.
Have you ever, well, I'll just say it. I went to the 2 Hall of Fame ceremonies, the 2 WrestleManias I've been to.
I hate you, but I'm glad.
I went to the one at WrestleMania 30, which is where Mr. T went into the celebrity wing.
Cool.
He was talking about his mama for like 45 minutes. It was the most awkward thing in the world, because when Mr. T got to about, legit, no exaggeration, around the 22nd minute of talking about his mama, which I thought was great, by the way.
I was going to say, you're cracking on a dude talking about his mama.
No. I'm not cracking on a dude talking about his mama. I loved that Mr. T was talking about his mama. If I ever accomplish anything in my life, which would be a change, my mother will get all of the credit for it. And I will make Mr. T's speech seem like a 2-minute recital if I was to talk about how great my mom was and how much she's done for me. But after like 22 minutes, and this was very, it was like one of those The Office cringe funny moments, Kane's music hit, and the Big Red Machine comes out, but he's in a suit and tie. You know, he's not Kane, he's Glenn. And he comes out and he's like waving to the crowd, and he walks up to Mr. T and he like shakes his hand and he kind of like waves, and and you can tell he leans over. Hey, man, you gotta stop talking about your mom. We got like 30 more people to introduce, you know? And Mr. T just turns to the mic and he's like, all right, I'm out of time. Thank you. And leaves. And it was just this most awkward, incredible moment. But
all right, we have 30 seconds. I just want to say that I read an article where the Bella twins are saying that they've been told they only get 5 minutes.
Yes, I saw that. But I think that's less because, of course, everybody immediately jumped in. And this may be the reason.
Hey, man, Hillbilly Jim. If you watched Hillbilly Jim, that was bad. That was really bad. Yeah. So
they were talking about that. But I don't think it's just the Bellas. I think they're going to cut down everybody who's not, amongst the Kane elite.
Rob can read, so he says. Email Rob Brown at ESPNUpstate.com and we'll put him to the test. This is the Rob Brown Show, local sports talk on ESPN Upstate.
Join us on the live stream at Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, the Rob Brown Show on Twitter or YouTube. Our live stream is up and going. You can watch behind the scenes as Lonzo do the show. You can chat with us during the break. Ron, Keegan, Ben, thanks for hanging out with us in there, guys. The rest of y'all are invited as well. During the break, we were talking about the Hall of Fame ceremony, which is tonight on Peacock, as the WWE has officially done away with the network and moved everything over to Peacock. We said that tonight was our one night off from professional wrestling, and Zoe pointed out during the break we were wrong, as the Hall of Fame ceremony is going to be tonight, which will be an interesting watch with some huge names going in this year. Molly Holly, Kane, amongst many, many others. The celebrity wing is going to have a couple of new additions as well. I think didn't they say Alice Cooper's going in? Who was the rock and roll? This is one of the big old rock and roll.
I was going to save it for Twitter, but I will do it now. It's Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy,
actually.
that's who it was. Ozzy, that's who it was. The one of the backup singers from Alice Cooper's band is doing the national anthem this year at NXT TakeOver, which is interesting. That's why he was talking about it last night. Anyway, join us on the live stream as we have ridiculous off-air conversations pertaining to everything, including who would win in a fight between the genie from Aladdin and Thanos, to the WWE Hall of Fame, and sometimes even, hold your horses, actual sports. It's weird.
Oh, like airsoft.
Yes. Which, by the way, Zoe, it's not too much to call him out on this right now, is it?
No, because according to his own words, I can't directly quote him, but I can come close. That we've created a rivalry, and he really enjoys the banter back and forth, and I think he basically took credit for it. No, he did take credit for it, so he deserves whatever you're willing to throw at him.
So we had a sales meeting earlier today, just for the personalities, me, Lonzo, Diesel, and Mark, to get some FaceTime with our sales crew to talk about how we can continue to grow the station. And we were having a discussion about the little rivalry that has developed between that show for men and our show for boys, the Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel versus the Rob Brown show with Rob and Lonzo. And Diesel specifically brought up the fact that we have been issuing, and I found this really, hilarious. Diesel brought up the fact that we have had these little challenges that have gone back and forth between the two shows. We have, before the lockdown started, we were going to do a mini dunk contest on the Little Tykes basketball goal there in the office. We were going to do hallway soccer 2-on-2, try to get the ball out, but just a bunch of dumb stuff. Well, we had, I believe his name was Ryan the other day, from an airsoft place that's over in Spartanburg, I believe, who called in and was like, hey, if you guys would like to play a little 2-on-2 airsoft, we can arrange that. And so the show for boys challenged the show for men to an airsoft tournament, 2v2 at the arena. And you guys, because you're incredible people, flooded Offsides that day with hashtag accept the airsoft challenge, to the point that the host of the show for men had no choice but to address it on the air. Well, he didn't accept it that day, but apparently y'all pushed him enough that 3 or 4 days later, he apparently, and I haven't heard it yet, said he accepted that challenge. Well, in the sales meeting today, we were talking about how we have this nice little fun, and it is, in all fairness, in all seriousness, it's a fun-natured, goofy little rivalry we have between the two shows. It's like a pair of teammates, right? Like, we are both pushing each other to up the competitiveness and do better, but we are on the same team, and we are striving for that team to do as well as possible. Well, Diesel brought up the airsoft challenge today, and I said, yeah, man, like we would love that. I would love to be able to do multiple competitions between the two shows, axe throwing competitions, anything that people go out and do for fun, a video game competition in an arcade, whatever we can come up with. And as soon as I was done and it was Mark Ryan's turn to address, he talked about everything except the airsoft challenge. Zoe believes that he may have intentionally disregarded the airsoft challenge, considering me, Lonzo, and Diesel were all pushing for this thing to happen and to be a sponsored event, and Mark just blew right past the thing. So,
but there's a little thing, though, and I don't know if you noticed this, and it's really not that little of a thing. Our wonderful general manager seemed to be down with it. He even mentioned a couple of the things that were brought up. So that show for men, the head of that show for men, may want to duck, but when Steve's on board, it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just saying. Challenge is still on the table. We've got a willing provider who has said that they will get us the equipment, the arena, the time slot. It's on the table. We just got to have the show for men say they're ready to pull the trigger. Diesel's in. Diesel brought it up before me and Zoe did.
He
Diesel's
did.
in.
He did. And I just want to say, if you're a business out there who has, similar things like that,
Oh, yeah.
where we could be competitive against each other.
Well, let's be honest, they won't be competitive with us, but we can compete.
Well, in the interest of fairness and being able to, we will make our competition look better than what they are. But, or if you always wanted to see Mark Ryan lose, hey, if you're a business that wants to get in on that, please contact our sales department, because we would love to do some of those things that are competitive, and it will draw attention to your business, and you get to see Mark lose. So, I mean, who doesn't want to see that?
If you do anything that people come out and do as a game or competition for fun, we will, Zoe and I, if nothing else, Zoe and I will absolutely level the challenge to the show for men and see if they show up.
I'll throw out the businesses that have like go-karts or Le Mans or something like. We're down with that. I mean, we could do that. Rob and I will have a little trouble squeezing into the cars, but
you know what I won't have trouble doing? Winning that damn race.
Daggone right.
Yeah.
Because there'll be some rubbing.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You're talking to the NASCAR fan on here. You don't think I don't know how to spin Mark and Diesel into a wall?
I think Diesel,
bake, baby, shake and bake.
I think Diesel might be a little bit of a concern, but as long as we tag team him, the other guy, we don't need to worry about him.
No. Mark will have the taillights all lit red the whole race. You know it. All right.
You know what he'll have, and I'll stop. He'll have car problems. Something wrong with my go-kart, man. It won't go.
Just want it to be known that the challenge is still on the table. Rob and Lonzo are ready. The sales staff knows about it. The GM is in on it. Now we just got one more person left to give it the green light, and it's on. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, breakdown and fallout of the Panthers trade to acquire Sam Darnold. I have got a bunch of thoughts, as do NFL experts from around the country. I'll tell you what they're saying. I'll give you my response. Zoe weigh in, and you can too on the phone lines at 844 GSP ESPN. Text us 71307. Text line is quiet today, y'all. Light it up. Come chat with us. Let's have some fun on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
You could have your
I've got music playing. Perfect.
Yeah, someone went through and changed all the settings, and I should have looked when I sat down. So
all good. Hey, Miss Lisa.
yeah, hopefully she missed that last part. Because when I was on my way home the other day when that challenge was issued, I told her that I accepted something and that it would cause pain for me, but it's for the show. So I'll just have to deal with it, and I'll have to, probably need some help with some whelps from Diesel, because there's no way Mark won't connect with anything. I'm not worried about that. He might stumble and fall, and there may be a ricochet. I don't know. Do airsofts ricochet? Probably.
They do, but
a lot of soft surfaces that probably stop that. So.
Yeah. The Madre says, "Let me know when these contests take place. I'm coming up to watch." Yes, just revel.
The other thing is StreamYard's mobile. So, and we can hit it from anywhere. So if we do this,
it's getting live streamed
without a doubt on several different platforms. So, but I just recall sitting here one day and having a Nerf gun, and how nervous Mark Ryan was the entire time. It was just a Nerf gun. So, I mean, and yes, at one point I did shoot the Nerf gun at him.
Did you hit him? I need to know about my teammate.
No, I missed it on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Because it's about the fear more so than the actual. That's a Nerf
Not
gun.
the pain.
Yeah, it's
like watching a scary movie. It's not seeing the monster that scares you. It's when you can't see the monster that it's the worst.
He's notorious about pausing, and I hate dead air. So I just happened to have a Nerf gun underneath the console and pulled it out when he did that, and he was a little worried. So you can imagine if a Nerf gun does that to you, airsoft probably he's going to duck. He's going to keep ducking. But we get Steve on board. It's going to happen.
Oh, he is. Hookset says, I can't wait for this. Yeah, me either. Keegan says, I'll be the stream host when y'all compete. That's fine. You want to be the official stream producer of the humiliation. By the way, if we lose this thing, Zoe, we are never going to hear the end of it.
You know what? If we lose, we shouldn't hear the end of it. But I'm not worried about that.
Wanted.
Well, opinions are like say everybody has one.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Lonzo and you. 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us at 71307, 71307. One texter says ESPN Lamont Carding, if they are men, they'll accept that changes. It literally has the word man in the name. All right, let's talk a little bit about this Sam Darnold trade that went down yesterday. We know that the Panthers have given up 3 draft picks in order to acquire Sam Darnold, a 6th rounder this year and a 2nd rounder and 4th rounder next year. So yesterday, we had Jason call into the show, and Jason asked the question, would the Sam Darnold trade be a trade you would be interested in if you are Carolina? And my response was yes, depending on the asking price. I would be in on that trade depending on the asking price for Sam Darnold. I wasn't giving up a 1st-round pick for Sam Darnold, but I did say that I would give up like a 2nd and a 4th for Sam Darnold. And that's almost exactly what happened. A 2nd, a 4th, and a 6th, which I am totally fine adding on to my original prediction for Sam Darnold. This is a cat that is out of USC, a 3rd overall pick, a guy who is famous for his I'm seeing ghost line. But one of the things that happens with the whole seeing ghost thing, that can come from coaching, right? And Adam Gase has done one thing before that I find very intriguing. There is another quarterback that worked under Adam Gase, another quarterback that spent some time under the last Jets head coach, former Miami Dolphins head coach, that also did not look as great as we thought that he would until he got out from under Adam Gase, and that is Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill spent 6 of 7 years with the Dolphins as the primary starter. A couple of them came underneath Adam Gase, but he got away from Adam Gase. He ended up in Tennessee, led the team to the AFC Championship game. They lost to those Chiefs that year, who would eventually go on to win the Super Bowl. For his play that year, he was named to his first career Pro Bowl. He was selected as the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. The guy has had 2 years with the Tennessee Titans, and in both of those years, he's looked pretty good. Played the full 16 games last year, went 11-5, had a 63.8% completion percentage, threw for almost 3,900 yards, had a 33-7 TD to interception ratio, a quarterback rating on the season of 106.5. When he left Miami, his season high QBR in Miami was his best season in Miami was 92.8 QBR. In his 2 seasons at Tennessee, 117.5 and 106.5. Coaching means everything. And Sam Darnold is no exception to that rule. Now, I'm not saying the guy's going to show up and be a Pro Bowler for Carolina right off the get. What I am going to say is his career has been modeled just like Ryan Tannehill's. And Ryan Tannehill had a change of scenery and a change in head coach and has done exceptionally well for the Tennessee Titans the last couple of years. The future can be bright for Sam Darnold in Carolina. I like this cat quite a bit. Also, Sam Darnold had 1 year of weapons. 1 year of weapons. He had Denzel Mims, Brashad Perriman, Jamison Crowder, Braxton Berrios. All of those guys were available last year, although it wasn't until week 13 that they all became available. After Sam Darnold got his full complement of weapons, since he got all of his weapons healthy, Darnold boasted the best completion percentage of the season, averaging 71%, 700 yards, and a 5-to-1 TD to interception ratio. And in the first 3 games after he got all of his weapons back, he did not turn the ball over a single time. And that, by the way, is a lineup of weapons that is far from the greatest show on turf. They are legitimate NFL caliber wide receivers, but they were not elite weapons. They were not in the class that he will be throwing to up in Charlotte. Now, statistically, Darnold has been one of the worst QBs in the league in New York, but I'm not saying it's not his fault, Lonzo. I'm saying with the stats that I just mentioned to you, what his numbers did after he got his full complement of wide receivers, and what Ryan Tannehill's stats did after he got away from Adam Gase and got to Tennessee, I'm saying there's nothing wrong with the Panthers being optimistic about this trade, Lonzo. I am.
So am I. And the fact that he has an offensive coordinator who is going to gear the offense around what he does well. And that's going to help too, as opposed to what he's had to deal with the last couple of years. Now he's going to go to a place, and sometimes a fresh start is all you need. But going to a fresh start with a coach that just started a year ago, who's got the Panthers on track. And I'm excited about what he can do with the weapons that he's going to have on offense. Now we got to see, will the Panthers shore that offense up? I just saw a tweet from Shefty about them signing an offensive lineman, and it just disappeared. They signed a free agent offensive lineman. So right away they're trying to bolster the line, and we'll see what they do with it, whether they trade out of that or whether they use that to get a really good tackle, which should be available. This is an exciting year. It really is. And I'm glad they got him, and we'll see what he's able to do. And hopefully they'll be able to make the playoffs this year and push forward with this.
I am a fan of this trade. Mel Kiper Jr. is the same. He was on Get Up earlier this morning and was asked about his thoughts on the trade. Here is what Mel Kiper Jr. had to say.
The right thing yesterday. Did the New York Jets do the right thing?
I would not have traded Sam Darnold. That's my decision. That would have been my call all along. I would have gone with Darnold and then been able to move down and get a Kyle Pitts, a Devontae Smith, a Jamar Chase, or a Jalen Waddle. But, Greeny, they didn't just get the 3rd-round pick that was reported. I said, hey, that's giving Sam Darnold away. You cannot do that. If you're only going to get a 3rd-round pick in return, you keep him, let him battle it out with Zach Wilson. He'll probably been the starter, see if Sam develops into a great quarterback. If he does, then you can trade Zach Wilson for a haul. But they got the 2, the 4, and the 6. So I think those 3 picks instead of just a 3rd-round pick is the reason why Joe Douglas felt, hey, you got to make this move. And for that, I think it's a good deal for both parties. They got more than was advertised. And for Carolina, I think it's an A+. I would give Carolina the best in this deal because they got the young 23-year-old quarterback, former 3rd pick overall, in a division now with Matt Ryan, 36. Tom Brady can't play forever, and New Orleans is now figuring it out at quarterback. So this gives the Panthers a leg up in terms of getting their young quarterback in Sam Darnold.
So there you go. Mel Kiper Jr. says an absolute A+ for the Carolina Panthers. They're saying that he is absolutely the guy. They get a young man in there who has still got a ton of upside, who has been kind of shafted in his NFL career so far, being stuck in New York. And I agree with him. It wasn't at a ridiculous price point. Yeah, I would have loved to get him for just a 3rd, but a 2nd, 4th, and 6th is not a bad trade out for a guy that has a risky upside, right? I mean, here's the reality. Whether it was Mac Jones whether it's Zach Wilson or Trey Lance, which were the likely two guys were Lance and Jones, you're gambling a second, fourth, and sixth, and you hold on to your first. I mean, none of those guys are guaranteed to work out in the league. Sam Darnold gives you 3 years of experience. He gives you 3 years of learning the speed of the league, if not how to excel in it. And he's still a young cat at 23 years of age. I said earlier, he's younger than Mac Jones. He's not. He's like 6 months older, though. He's not even a full year older than Mac Jones. And he's got 3 years experience in the bag already. This is a great pick. This is a great pickup for the Carolina Panthers. We're going to talk more about that when we come back here in a second. I'll give you some other NFL experts' grades, and we'll respond to those on the flip side. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your...
Could not agree with you more, Hooks, that Sam Darnold was shafted in his career. I completely agree with that. The Jets had no idea how to utilize that guy. And I think in a couple of years, Jets fans are going to look back at this trade and feel like they ultimately end up losing it. I'm not saying Sam Darnold's going to be a Brady. I am saying he's good enough that's a great move. Appreciate that comment, man. Those of you in the stream, feel free to dump those comments in here, man. Feel free to dump those comments in here. Love to hear more about it. What are your thoughts? Do the Panthers come out ahead in this? Yeah, completely agreed. Completely agreed. He is better than the Jets allowed him to be. I don't disagree with that. And when people started losing it on him for that I'm seeing ghost comment, a lot of people just wanted to automatically attribute that to Sam Darnold being bad and not mentally ready. But I put that on coaching. I really do. If your QB is scared, he's not coached up to success, right? I am of the mindset, and always have been, that an employee can only, in any position, whether it's a bartender or a janitor or an NFL quarterback, an employee can only be as good as his organization sets him up to be. The Jets set Sam Darnold up to be a failure. So why are we shocked that he was? We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. I agree with you, Hookset. Yeah, you're exactly right. That dude played that I would argue Sam Darnold played with more integrity than the Jets as an organization have, which is something. And you know, I was reading earlier some comments about Matt Rule and some of the I was talking about some of the ways that Matt Rule has been successful. And one of the things they pointed out was that throughout his career, everywhere he's gone, and this almost sounds coach speak, and it is coach speak until you can point and say this is a fact. And this is impressive at a school like Baylor. He has coached by building the foundation of his team of a bunch of character guys that want to be there and want to win. He has passed on good recruits who he felt were out for themselves in order to go get a bunch of guys that were there for the team mentality. He seems to be bringing that mentality to the Panthers, and Sam Darnold fits right in that, which I'm very excited for him about.
got to wonder also if one of the reasons why Sam Darnold was traded is because he had the audacity to win a football game. You know, they say they don't tank on purpose, and when a team's really bad like the Jets are, do you think he got in trouble for winning? I mean, it is a possibility for
absolutely
for him to be taking it. Hey, it's better for him to win because if they lost them all, he knew a quarterback was coming in, and that's the other thing. Going out and playing on a team that's really bad, knowing that more than likely this is your last year and still playing as hard as you can, that says a lot about you as a player. And I know it's your job, but you could still go out and just not put all your effort into it. And it seems like he didn't do that. He went out and he tried his best the entire time.
Yeah, like I said, he played with integrity, which is something the Jets were not wanting to do. And look, on top of all that, like we've mentioned a handful of times, and it remains true, Adam Gase is a bad coach. He's a bad coach. It's proven at this point. There's not many guys that fail that I automatically go, nope, there's just no chance he can succeed, because there are some cases where the head coach and ownership are just not on the same page. And look, Bill Belichick at Cleveland.
1 minute.
Granted, Hoodie had Brady, and that makes life much easier.
Seconds.
Of Riddle making Dragon Ball Z jokes talking to Xavier.
It's over 9,000.
Do you think he can get both of you that high? Well, Riddle, let's hope nobody gets that high.
We're back. My bad.
The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. I don't know if that went over the air or not, but wrestling jokes are great when they're great, man. They're great when they're great. New Day making jokes about getting high to Matt Riddle is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect.
You know what's really funny? I know you need to get in what you need to get into, but I got sent a picture from my buddy Vince Coakley from WORD. He was on a flight, and he's like, "Do you know this guy?" And it was Xavier Woods, and he hadn't watched wrestling in a while, and he didn't recognize him. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And then we talked about it on the air today, and he said that he was having trouble getting all his electronics on the flight, and he had some sort of musical instrument. I was like, "Was it a trombone?"
Francesca too.
Yeah, I mean, so that's just excellent.
Love it. All right, Sam Darnold, gut reaction to the trade from a lot of experts. Mike Clay from NFL.com is giving Carolina a C+, betting, saying that the Panthers are betting on Darnold not being a finished product at age 23 and that he can succeed. Said they were desperate of an upgrade, so this is a risky move, but it does give them hope. Jeremy Fowler, national NFL writer, also says a C+, says fixing Darnold's, quote, penchant for game-killing interceptions is hardly a slam dunk, end quote. Well, if that's the case, I mean, look, as we mentioned, Teddy Bridgewater had 8 games last year where he was 3 or 7 points down with the final drive of the game and went 0 for 8 in those games. I mean, you can't go lower than that, which is why I like it. Dan Graziano, another NFL writer, Graziano says it is a B-, says it's a lot of picks for a guy to give up with more bad than good on the resume, but points out that Darnold is 6 months younger than Joe Burrow, about the same age difference over Mac Jones. Also points out that Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator for the Panthers, was the guy who developed Joe Burrow. Says that Darnold's best football may be in front of him. Kevin Seifert, a national NFL writer, gives it a C-. Says that he does not claim that Bridgewater deserves to come back as the starter, but, quote, if your plan for the next 2 seasons is to start Darnold, I don't know how excited about that I can be. And Seth Walter, sports analytics writer, gives it a D. Says, while it's true that Darnold was in a terrible situation, he would not have committed a second-round pick to the gamble that he will work out, nor commit a 2022 salary to the guy. And he certainly would not have done that before the draft. He said he would have waited for a quarterback to fall to the number 8 pick. I don't see a quarterback in here, Zoe, whether it's Mac Jones or Trey Lance, that will be available at 8, that I would say, oh, that guy's definitely going to be better than Sam Darnold. I'm not taking that gamble. So for me, a second-round pick and keeping your 8th overall in pocket, Zoe, if a Justin Fields falls to 8, if Fields falls to 8, I still make the pick. But a second-round pick is not an enormous gamble for me, Lonzo. I disagree with these writers, and I'm not a Panthers homer. I got no reason to be anything but honest with you. Let's try to win you $1,000, eh? What do you say? Your keyword for this upcoming hour is SOAP, S-O-A-P, SOAP. Text SOAP, S-O-A-P, to 72881 for your chance to win a grand in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. SOAP, S-O-A-P, text it to 72881, powered by BetQL. Let BetQL's proven data and analytics help you become a better. Download the BetQL app today. This is a national contest, and text and data rates may apply. Text SOAP, S-O-A-P, to 72881 for your chance to win a grand in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. Coming up in hour number 2, a further breakdown of the potential NBA rule change and a whole lot more, including a great situation the Carolina Hurricanes find themselves in way into playoff contention. That's coming up next in the Rob Brown Show second hour on ESPN Upstate. Brandon, what up, buddy? Good to see you, man. How about them Bears? Another year of Trubisky, maybe? I don't know. Could the Bears jump into the top 6? Could they be a trade partner for the Atlanta Falcons at number 4? Good question. Oh, the Baylor Bears. I was like, why is he talking about Chicago? But all right. Yeah, big win for Baylor, man. It was never even a game. That's what blew me away. I expected, if you'd have told me Baylor was going to win, I would have been shocked. If you were going to tell me that Baylor was just going to have their way with Gonzaga, I'd have called you crazy. I mean, everybody picked the Zags, and they were in it for about 30 seconds off the get, and that was it.
Harley in the first break.
Outstanding.
The BetQL app today. Warning.
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Brown and Lonzo with you here on a beautiful Upstate Tuesday afternoon. The sky is blue. Not a cloud in the sky. Low 70s. It's a great day as we head towards the Masters weekend, as we head towards WrestleMania weekend, as we head towards a fantastic weekend to be a sports fan with baseball season in play. Not a hot start for the Bravos. Get swept 0-3 by the Phillies to start the season. Then their fourth game, against the Nationals postponed due to COVID protocols. The Braves and the Nats scheduled to play a doubleheader coming up tomorrow on the broadcast. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more throughout the remaining 2 hours of the radio broadcast. But I want to first and foremost get into the potential changes that the National Basketball Association is discussing putting into play, according to Shams Charania of The Athletic. He said that the NBA is discussing potential rule changes, one of which will deal with coaches' replay challenges. That would include coaches being allowed to hang on to their timeouts if they issue a successful challenge. But the other rule change, and this one I am much more excited about. This is a rule change that I have been in favor of for some time now. And that rule change is a change to the irregular shooting of an offensive player who throws his body into contact from a defender. And this is such an obvious issue to me, Lonzo. I've been saying for years, and this is something that's not talked about very often. Over the past few years, we have seen a strategy developed by offensive players where they get a defender up in the air and then they jump into the defensive player. They manipulate their body not to draw contact. It is one thing to draw contact. It is something completely different to create contact. And when they create contact, it says that the offensive player has a right to the defensive player space. And I disagree with that entirely. I don't understand why in the league it is the offensive player who has priority to the space. Now, if an offensive player beats a defensive player to the space and contact is drawn, that is a blocking foul. And I don't have any issue to that. But if a defender has established his position and goes straight vertically, he still has an own of that position. And if he owns that position and the offensive player jumps into that, I've never understood why that is not an offensive penalty. The NBA looks like they are going to address that notion in the next round of discussions from the NBA's competition committee. And frankly, Lonzo, I think it is way overdue that rule be addressed and that style of play be negated in the league, because there are guys who are taking advantage of it, and it is removing the best defenders from NBA games at a point where defense has never been more critical.
Now, if they call this evenly, this would be a great rule. But there are going to be some players that will struggle with this because that's a big part of their game, and they've been taught to do that since high school. And so it's going to be interesting to see. The big stars are probably going to get a pass on it, but they have to start somewhere, and they need to make sure that they're consistent in the calls. If they're consistent in the calls, this would be great. But I'd hate to see them bring it about and then never use it.
My buddy Brandon from back in the 850 says, why y'all gonna mess my boy Trey Young's game up like that, Rob? Yeah, Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks has been one of the prominent players that throws this kind of offensive style onto the floor. This is a cat that has mastered the art of getting a defender in the air and then jumping into that defender and drawing contact. And I'm not mad at Trey Young the same way I've said for years. I'm not mad at James Harden for understanding that he is going to get calls and taking advantage of that in order to draw more fouls, get to the line more, and attempt more free throws than basically anybody else in the league. If the league is going to give that call to Trey Young, he would be silly not to try to take it. But I am coming at this from the standpoint of a basketball fan, and especially a basketball fan that appreciates good defense. If a defensive player gets into position, owns a piece of real estate, establishes himself in that piece of real estate, maintains that piece of real estate by going purely vertical, then that defender owns that territory. And I don't understand why guys are allowed to try to take that away from him. And it has been a style of offense that has accelerated, has exploded exponentially in the league. And I'm not a fan of it. It cuts down on the amount of defense that a player can play. Now you're at a point where if you are defending a Trey Young, you have a decision to make. Do you just allow him, the 16-footer, just allow him to take it uncontested, where you know he's going to knock it down 50% of the time uncontested? Or do you go up vertically, contest the shot, and understand that there's a very good chance that a foul is going to be called on you for doing nothing but going vertical? Brandon says it's a small man's game in a big man's world. What do you want me to say? I'm sorry. Should we change the rules in the NFL where slower players are allowed to hit faster players illegally because, hey, well, they're slower? No, we don't adjust the rules. If Trey Young's burning you up, then you put a faster guy on him. And if he's not, then great job, congratulations. But we don't change the rules of the game because because big men are more genetically fortunate than little men. Those little men need to find out, how do I play around that? If I can no longer draw a guy up into the air, launch myself into him, throw up an unnatural shot attempt in order to draw a foul and get to the line, then how do I create my offense to work around that? That's on the offensive player. It's not on the defensive player. So at a point in time where we've got NFL games that are routinely getting up into the 130s, it blows my mind that we have created this system where offensive players are gifted this enormous advantage of defensive players cannot cause contact, but offensive players can. It doesn't make sense. The NBA has had an issue with this for years. The reason you haven't really heard me talk about it all that much is because that's just how the game's been for 20 years. I don't like it, but there ain't gonna be much we can do about it. But here's a spot where the NBA's competition committee says, hey, we can do something about it. And frankly, though, I think they'd be silly not to heavily consider changing the rules in order to make it a level playing field so that defense can be returned to the NBA, a league which has been hurt, in my opinion, by its lack of defense.
I am curious, though, why now? Why not, several years ago, for as long as it's been going on? Why suddenly are they finally supposedly going to do something about this? It's not like a major play like in the NFL with the pass interference for a little while when they had that bogus thing where they were actually going to, review pass interference. It's what brought this about. Has there been an outcry amongst the players themselves to cause them to take a look at this? I hate being, and there's nothing conspiracy about this. I'm just curious as to what finally brought them about doing this, and will this bring the offense back down, which is not what they want to do. They want the offense to be back up, or there's no way this is a ratings thing. So why would they do this?
You know, and Brandon just said in the chat, fans want scoring points no matter the sport. There, I said it. You're not wrong, Brandon, but I think the game loses. We want scoring points, but we want actual contention, right? If it was all about scoring points, the NFL would change the rules even further. And don't get me wrong. I think the NFL has absolutely kind of bent the rules a little bit to give offenses an advantage to get more points on the board. But when there's no, and I'm not saying there's no defense in the NBA, there is. If you go back and you look at the teams that have made and won in the NBA playoffs the last few years, the Miami Heat last year, the LA Lakers last year, those are teams that played some pretty gritty defense, right? And we still loved it. Not really. The rating said we didn't, but we did. Still loved it. It's one thing to say we want a bunch of points scored, and I understand that, especially in basketball. We want flash. We want oops. We want dunks. We want guys knocking down 34-footers. Of course we want all that. But I think a lot of us recognize that we want to see points scored in a good basketball game. And when you got guys like James Harden that are putting up 42, but 27 of them come from the charity stripe, nobody's in to see free throw contests, right? I want to see guys score 32 from the field. That's not to say I don't want guys to get their fouls and get to the line and earn those points. I sure do. But if we've got an NBA player scoring 34 and 22 of them are coming from the stripe, that's a 12-point game, man. There's nothing inherently impressive about that, right? And on top of that, I'm not saying I don't want points scored, but I am saying that you at least have to justify why it is that a defensive player does not have the right to the same floor space that the offensive player has. Why does the defender not have the same right to own a piece of the court that the guy with the ball does? I think that's dumb. And the NBA rules in charge and blocking territory are very clear. If it's outside of the restricted zone and a defensive player gains ownership of real estate and an offensive player enters that real estate, it is an offensive foul. Why is that not true on a contested shot? If a defensive player has a say, and I'm not saying that if a defensive player jumps into an offensive player, it shouldn't be a foul. I'm saying that in order for, by default, by definition, in order for you to jump vertically, you must be established. You cannot jump vertically if you were not established. If I am moving towards Lonzo and I jump, if I am not established, I'll be jumping at Lonzo. That's the foul. If I am established, I own real estate. That's the only way I can jump vertically. And if I jump vertically, and Zoe, as he suggests on the stream, starts throwing a bow into me, why is that not an offensive foul? If it was exactly the opposite, it would be a defensive foul, right? If an offensive player is moving forward and I put myself into position to elbow him, that's a defensive foul. I'm just saying the rule change is a good one because players like Anthony Davis, players like Rudy Gobert, players like Zion Williamson, who have been very good at establishing their position inside the paint and contesting shots, are not going to be, and that's the other part. I don't want the Rudy Goberts of the world to have 4 fouls before the fourth quarter because Trae Young is launching himself into him like a cannonball. I want those players to be able to make it to the end of the game because they are playing good disciplined defense. Baylor played good disciplined defense last night. They won the game because of it. I haven't seen a single person come in today and say, remember, Rob Brown told you the 159.5 under, take the under in this game. It was under by 4. I didn't see a single person last night or today start going, that game was boring because Gonzaga and Baylor didn't score in the 90s. That game was an incredible game with a very disciplined defensive effort by the Baylor Bears. Nobody's complaining about it being boring today. So with all that being said, Zoe, I just think leveling the playing field and letting good defensive players gain some value by calling a rule that is already a foul one way, a foul the other way, would be a great move by an NBA that has lost quite a bit of his older demo because they feel like there's no defense in the league, and this is one of the reasons they feel that way, and it can be changed.
Now, if they come down on James Harden, if they come down on Steph Curry, if they come down on some of these guys who do that and throw that leg out or do some of the things that they do to get those fouls, great. But until I see them come down on the stars, I'm not going to believe that it's going to be consistent. I just don't. And I want this to work and I want it to happen, but I don't want it to slow the game down because there are fouls called right and left.
But it's the same amount of fouls that are going to be called. It's just that the offense is going to be called instead. It's not going to change. In fact, it'll even be faster because most of those fouls come with a pair of free throws on the back end. Now it's just going to be take the ball out of possession on a turnover. It'll speed the game up.
Well, if it's James Harden and they call it consistently, they'll be in the bonus pretty quick.
Oh yeah, I agree entirely. Harden and Trae Young are two guys that are absolutely going to have to they're going to have to change their game up. They're going to have to change the way they take the game. All right, let's do this. Take a break. When we come back, Kevin Marshall of FCS Nation joins us. Furman has one game left on the schedule after Wofford College has canceled the rest of the season. What went wrong this year for Furman? We'll ask Kevin Marshall on the flip side. My name is Rob Brown. Zoe's at the helm. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate.
Harley.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
The weather's absolutely beautiful outside. 100% gorgeous. And I have told y'all, and I've told y'all, and I've told y'all, and I've told y'all. Buying a motorcycle has been the best major investment that I have made in myself in some time. It changes your perspective on life. And I'm not just, I've been riding for the better part of 4 years now. I still love it as much as the day that I first hopped on the back of a rig. And the folks at Harley Davidson of Greenville, they know that. They understand that. They get that. And that's why they want you on the back of a brand new 2021 Harley. I am telling you right now, if you are stressed because of the quarantine, because of work, whether you're back in the office or working from home, if you are stressed because of what is going on in the world right now, or you're just stressed because, hey, life is stressful, jumping on the back of a brand new Harley from Harley Davidson of Greenville will change that perspective for you. It did it for me. I cannot tell you how many afternoons I have gotten done with work. It's a stressful day. You got family issues. You got bills to worry about. You got whatever you got going on that you need to get your head right about. Jump on the back of a bike, head up to the Blue Ridge Parkway, drive up and down downtown Greenville and people watch. Go take the ride over to Spartanburg and grab a burger. Whatever you got to do, it will work for you like it's worked for me. And right now, if you visit Harley Davidson of Greenville, not only can they get you set up on the back of a brand new 2021, but they have the largest pre-owned inventory in the entire upstate and can get you on the back of a pre-owned bike that will change the way you feel about life. I can't build that up enough. Check out the entire inventory online at upstateharley.com, upstateharley.com, or visit their showroom at 30 Chrome Drive in Greenville. It's a beautiful showroom. Their inventory room for both new and pre-owned selections is beautiful. Check them out again online at upstateharley.com, in store at 30 Chrome Drive in Greenville. It's Upstate Harley. It's Harley Davidson of Greenville.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your
blow the old honker. Brandon, I'm telling you straight up, man. You got to get you a bike, dog. You got to get you a bike. I'm telling you. I bought mine 4 or 5 years ago. And, bro, I have put probably 3,000 miles on it since I moved here. Oh, we should have set the over-under on the allergies at today at 1:30, Lonzo. Man.
I'm ignoring allergies and pretending like they don't exist, so maybe it won't hit me today.
I wish I could ignore them. Yeah, I know you got the scoot. Brandon, you got to upgrade, man. Pardon me. Those luscious ginger locks look really good flowing off the back of a Harley, bro. I'm just trying to tell you, help me help you, big dog. Hook's that, dude. Listen. I'm gonna tell you right now. Go look at the pre-owned. They have got a couple pre-owned bikes that are really good looking, and their inventory is good. And right now they are. This is behind the scenes baseball. They're trying to clear out some of the pre-owned because they this is the time of year that people start bringing in bikes and upgrading to new ones. They're going to have some 2020 pre-owns in the next few weeks that are going to be barely used and at pre-owned prices. It's worth it. I'm telling you, man.
If I hadn't just made a major purchase vehicle-wise, I would be tempted to do so myself.
I'm telling you.
But
y'all both need to get one. That way I got more people to ride with.
Maybe I'll get me a Vespa.
My man Hooks that said, LOL, I got 8 kids.
That's what I'm talking about. I got a huge car payment. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you right. I drive an older car specifically so I can keep the motorcycle.
30 seconds, Kevin, standing by.
Perfect.
If I did ride, though, I'd have to have a helmet with horns on it or something like that. Or some sort of mohawk. Have you seen those helmets? Yeah. Those are really cool. I like those.
I'll show you the one that I'm going to get next.
If I'm going to stand out, I want to stand out. I wonder if they come in Saiyan hair.
I bet you could get one customized.
Join the Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you here on the broadcast. Be a part of the show, 844-GSP-ESPN. Join us on the text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. Let's talk a little FCS ball with our buddy Kevin Marshall of FCS Nation, a show you can hear every Saturday morning right here on ESPN Upstate at 9 a.m. Kevin, my man, been a while, brother. Great to have you back. How's life treating you, big dog?
Well, it's 406 day out here in Montana, which I guess if there could be an 843 day or an 864 day, you'll get it. It's our area code out here. So it's kind of like a holiday here in Montana. But I'm in the studio working just like you, bro.
I love it. It's a tough day to be inside. Not as tough when you got a DVR full of FCS football to catch up on. We had a caller call yesterday, and we'll get into the details in just a minute, Kevin. But we had a caller yesterday named Kevin also who asked, said he's a big Furman fan and just wants to know what happened. We all kind of thought that Furman had an outside looking in chance at making it to the postseason this year, that Furman might be a team that was able to play their way into the playoffs, especially since we knew there were going to be some teams that were going to be forced out. We now know that Wofford College is one of them, which is going to unfortunately cost Furman a game at the end of the year. But from a broad perspective, what's going on with Furman football that they're being threatened with a sub-500 season this year?
I think it's just a lack of ability to run the football and pass defense. pass defense has been a problem for the Paladins for a while now. These are not things that have just reared their heads here recently. I mean, you have a Mercer quarterback, a freshman, Peavy, who came in there and just absolutely there were guys open everywhere, and he didn't miss them. And if you're the Furman Paladins and you rush for 66 yards against Mercer, you didn't deserve to win that football game. And, what Furman has traditionally done in the past is, they've beaten who they're supposed to beat. And then maybe they would steal one from Marshall or App State or Georgia Southern or somebody like that, and that would have them squarely in the conversation. But that just didn't happen this spring. And I think that you're seeing that, the Paladins program, what could have been a crescendo this spring, has now just been sort of I'm kind of surprised that we didn't hear them pull the plug this week too, just like Wofford did. I was really, waiting for that announcement. It hasn't come yet, but I don't think it would shock anyone in FCS world if Furman threw in the towel the same way Wofford did.
Furman right now sitting at 3-3 after a 26-14 loss to Mercer. You talked about the run game, and we spent some time at the beginning of the year, Kevin, talking about Devin Wynn, a guy who in 2019 rushed for over 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns on the year. Now, with just a game left to go, and granted, it's been an abbreviated season, no doubt about it, but less than 730 yards, 6 touchdowns on the year. Have teams been keying off on Devin Wynn, knowing about him, or is it's just been a struggle to get anything going in the run game for Furman?
I think it's a couple of things, Rob. I think one of them is the fact that I believe he's 7-8 pounds bigger this year than he was last year, and he just doesn't have that extra gear, a giddy up that he's had in the past. I think he sacrificed that extra gear to be a little bit bigger, be a little bit more durable. I mean, Furman without a breakaway runner, that offense they want to run really doesn't work all that well. And I think that's one of the problems with Wynn. I mean, look, he's still one of the best backs you're going to see in FCS football. But, it's weird seeing him get run down from behind. That never happened before. And with that, and I think that's a problem with the Furman team, is that they just don't have like a Brian Bratton at the wide receiver or somebody like that. They just don't have really anyone right now who shows the ability to take the ball in space and be able to outrun everyone to the end zone. And Furman's always had that. They just don't seem to have it right now.
Talking with Kevin Marshall, the host of FCS Nation. You can hear it every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on ESPN Upstate. So the caller yesterday asked, and I thought it was a good question, we're to a point where we're deep enough in the season that I'd like to be able to say that you're not at a point where you can really blame slow finishes, really, because Furman was leading that game early in the third quarter, where you can kind of start, and I don't want to call it a meltdown by any stretch of the imagination, but these kind of weak finishes we've seen out of Furman, kind of tough to still blame that on playing spring football, playing in the COVID. Everybody's in the same boat, and there are other teams not having the same problem. Kevin asked, is this just one of the lesser talented Furman teams that we've seen in the past handful of years, or is there some underlying issue? If you compare them to other teams that are having better back halves of the season, Kevin, would you say that there are underlying issues caused by the weirdest year in FCS football? Or is this just the Furman team that's not living up to what we've seen out of teams over the past few years?
I think it's a little bit of both. It is odd. It just is, to be doing shows this time of the year. This is the time of the year where I'm putting on my hip waders in Montana trying to get in the Clark Fork River and catch some trout, instead of, looking at all 22 tape for the pick segment. So I think there's a little bit of both of that. Like I just mentioned, the lack of a breakaway guy, the lack of, NFL talent at the wide receiver position, and the lack of anybody who can take the ball to the house. I mean, I think one of the plays that really shows that is against Samford when they ran that reverse. And a Furman wide receiver in the past with that much open space is taking it to the house. Instead, he got run down from behind. Now, Furman was still able to win that football game with a good defensive play in overtime. But that hasn't been the case before. I think it's a combination of both. It is a little bit weird of a season, but I don't even think the most partisan purpleite or Furple or Furman person, whatever you want to call them, will tell you this is one of the most talented Furman teams they've ever seen, because it's just not. And I don't think anybody will make that claim.
So we've seen Furman in past years, a team that has been in SoCon contention despite having some pretty good opposition, some teams from the likes of VMI and the Citadel in the past. What direction does Furman go after the season, especially knowing that now they've got to gear up with a short off season, get ready for the fall? If you're on the coaching staff there, what direction do you go after what I don't think I'm being too harsh in saying has been a very disappointing year for the Paladins?
I don't know what you do with the offense. The defense has been pretty good. It hasn't been great, but it's been good enough to win. I think that you're seeing, the guy on the other sideline last Saturday was Coach Cronick, who, is the architect of a really good Furman offense when he was the offensive coordinator there. So, I don't know whether you make a change there or not. I just look, what they're doing isn't really working. And I think that it might have a little bit to do also with them trying to be too multiple. If you want to run the option, well, then run the option. If you want to be a spread team, then be a spread team. But this trying to mismatch 4, 5, 6 systems into one offense, it leads you to be mediocre at a lot of them instead of very, very good at one of them. The ball game this Saturday in Charleston between Furman and the Citadel, and I always tell people that there's great rivalries in the FCS, but you really don't have a rival until someone's murdered your mascot. And Furman and Citadel people will know what I'm talking about on the side of the road in the 60s. That's a rivalry. And you'll watch the Citadel play, and they are stubborn as all heck. They're going to run the option. You're going to know what's coming. And a lot of times you're not going to be able to stop it, and they're going to throw it when it's advantageous to them and you're not expecting it. So I think in the SoCon, with the limited numbers of scholarships, we all have 63 scholarships versus 85 up at the next level. You really have to focus on offense and trying to do one thing extremely well rather than six things with a lot of mediocrity.
Kevin Marshall, host of FCS Nation, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So Furman has got one game left thanks to the cancellation of the remainder of the season from Wofford. They are going to be on the road at the Citadel, a team you just mentioned a second ago. And game doesn't look like it's going to be an easy one, but one that Furman would love to win in order to have a winning season, despite only playing at its conclusion 7 games when it's all said and done. What, if anything, can Furman do to try to end the season on a high note?
I think you got to go to Charleston and throw everything you can at them. What have you got to lose? You're not going to be in the playoffs. If you're not going to fold up the season the way that Wofford did, well, then you open up your playbook and you throw everything you can at the Citadel Bulldogs if you're the Furman Paladins. If you're talking about the Citadel, just do what you do. Keep handing that ball off up the middle, like Denzel Washington's character said in that movie. The option is like Novocaine. It may take a while, but it works every time. So, you've got to be able to do that if you're the Citadel. If you're Furman, you got to get back to doing what Furman does. Run the football, throw the ball down the field when you can. And look, if you're a Citadel Bulldog, it's been a long fall and a long spring season. But if you have the opportunity in your last 2 ball games to beat Furman and VMI, well, you know what? That changes the whole outlook of this entire spring season from one that was just, can we get through it, to one that becomes pretty darn good.
Kevin Marshall joining us here on the show. All right, real quick, Kevin, Wofford College announced earlier in the week that they have indeed decided to opt out from the remainder of the season. They say between COVID opt-outs and injuries that have limited the numbers in certain position groups below Southern Conference guidelines, that they just cannot field a team. There have been some teams that have spoken out and said, hey, look, we've done everything we need to do to make this happen. It's disappointing. It's kind of one of those things where I know some folks have said, well, if they were 4-1 instead of 1-4, would they have still pulled the trigger or would they have finished out? I don't know how to answer that question and be fair to Wofford. So I'll ask A, do you have an opinion on that? And B, what does that do to Wofford? What does it do to the rest of the Southern Conference? And if it does have an impact on the postseason, what would it be?
Well, I'll tell you this, that what you just said was perfect. If they were 4-1 with a chance to go to the playoffs, I know a little bit about that program and some of the people who are involved in it. There's no way they pull the plug on the season. Now, is it easier to pull the plug when you're 1-4? Sure it is. Should you have? I don't know. I was unaware of these Southern Conference position group rules before the season started, and I looked, and I could not find them anywhere before week 4 or 5 of the season. So, I don't know whether this is just we're making it up as we go along, which the FCS committee seems to be, with the MEAC getting an automatic bid, which is good news for the South Carolina State Bulldogs down there in Orangeburg. But look, it kind of feel like they pulled the plug because their record wasn't very good. And, the problem with that is, what are you going to do in the fall if, you have a rash of injuries at the offensive and defensive line? This stuff cannot go on in the fall. As we all know, you got 12 weeks to play 11 games. So there's not going to be any room for postponements or cancellations. You're going to have to do what you have to do in the fall. And I really don't see how this spring should have been any different, Rob. You move some people around and you play. I don't think that anybody in the fall is going to be able to say, well, we only have 4 healthy offensive linemen. Well, then you better be finding a tight end to play tackle or something, because nobody's going to have any sympathy for you come the fall with these lack of numbers at certain positions.
Kevin Marsh, host of FCS Nation. You can hear that show every Saturday right here on ESPN Upstate. You can follow him on Twitter at FCS Nation Radio 1. Kevin, my man, I appreciate your time, brother. Thanks for jumping on with us and answering some questions. We'll get you back on next week, amigo.
I really appreciate it. Nobody puts me on the spot like you do, and I don't mind being there.
Hey, man, it's what is it? It takes pressure to make a diamond, big dog, and you're pulling it off every week. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
You
Thanks
got
for
it.
having me.
Kevin Marsh of FCS Nation, to get on Twitter at FCS Nation 1, your go-to for all things FCS football. Let's take a break. Come back here in just a minute. We'll talk more about that Sam Darnold trade. That's around the corner, plus a couple of troll jobs done live on TV in the world of sports yesterday that I loved. I'll share those with you next on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
You're just minutes away from a shot at one.
All right, real quick, got to make a phone call. I will return. Zoe's in charge. All right, we are back. So I'll show you some of the motorcycle helmets I've looked at.
Nice.
Yeah. So that one's one that I really like. There are a couple that have like the see-through visor paint. So you got this one that actually looks like the helmet. That one's sick. I'm trying to find. There was one that I saw. Let's see if I can pull it up.
Is there like a Master Chief helmet somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
There's this one that I absolutely loved.
Oh, Venom. Yeah, that's cool.
No, there's a better picture.
30 seconds.
Yeah, like that one I think is sick. So you look out through the teeth, which is pretty rad. There's a picture of a dude where I love that. Like that's a BA looking helmet.
Especially when you put your head down. Yeah, that would really be cool.
When you're shredding turns, bro. Yeah, here's a street legal Master Chief helmet.
Yeah, the Master Chef helmet, totally different.
Just look like Gordon Ramsay rolling down the road.
But angry, yes.
Yeah, right.
Real unfiltered sports talk brewed locally.
Oh my God, a hipster! Bring him a microbrew.
You have a golf cart in next
It's the
to
Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. A couple of texts that have come in over the past couple of breaks at ESPN. Mark Ryan seems to think the Sam Darnold trade is a horrible trade. I think it is an absolute win. I don't know that I would use, Lonzo. I don't know that I would use the word absolute, right? Because I won't say that Sam Darnold is absolutely going to be a great quarterback. I will say it is a tentative win. I'll say I'm pretty sure it's a win. I'm confident in the trade. I think that at just 23 years of age with a litany of bad decisions made by the New York Jets behind him while he was the quarterback there, I think it's a good trade. I think Carolina certainly did not overpay or overvalue Sam Darnold. I thought it was a pretty good haul for what they gave up overall. I again, it's hard to use the word absolute in the NFL. The only absolutes are things that have already happened. This is where I, much like Lonzo with the GOAT title, will only accept GOAT if you say GOAT so far. Nothing is absolute, Lonzo, except things that have already happened, especially at the quarterback position. I will say it is absolute that Sam Darnold is going to be a rebuilding project, that Matt Rule is going to have to work with him and retool him to get him better. But as far as for what the Carolina Panthers gave up for Sam Darnold, I think it's about as good as they could have hoped for without taking a risk at that number 8 spot on a guy like a Mac Jones.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, how is this this is not a bust. It's not a bad deal. It's a good deal. We're not going to know if it pays off or not until he actually gets on the team and actually plays some games. But it's a crapshoot with just about anybody. But one of the major things with this guy is he has years of experience in the NFL, starting on a really bad team. He's coming to a pretty good team. And now we're going to see if talent wins out over some of the things that people have talked about are bad in his game, which could actually be poor coaching. You come to a better coach, you get better techniques, you get more confidence knowing that this team actually wants to win, because I don't believe the Jets want to win. The Panthers do.
Yeah, there is a clear difference in football mentality between the Jets and the Panthers right now. And the Panthers are trying to attack. The Panthers are trying to attack, and I love it. It is the right decision. It is the right decision. And again, you may not have the most confidence in the world about Sam Darnold, and I'm not saying that I do. I'm not saying I think Sam Darnold is the next big thing. I am saying that there is enough on tape to show me he's shown flashes. And last year with the Jets, towards the end of the year, when the Jets were trying to tank for the number 1 spot, they showed me, Sam Darnold showed me, that when it comes down to clutch positions, I absolutely think that this dude has got every tool in the toolkit to be good. And I absolutely think that I'm at the point now where if Matt Rule brings in a guy and trusts that guy to be a part of the squad, then so do I, because he has shown a keen eye for bringing in guys who want to be there and want to win. And I believe that this is a good pickup. I don't see it as an L as well. And on top of that, look at what it does for the value of that number 8 pick, right? I don't think any of us believe that there are going to be more than at most 2 quarterbacks on the board at number 8. I've seen some mocks that have had Justin Fields falling all the way to 8. If he does, great, take him. Have a QB competition between Sam Darnold and Justin Fields to see who starts. That's good. That's a good spot to be in. I don't believe for a second, Lonzo, that Justin Fields is going to be available at number 8. That means that at least one team ahead of them is adding to the mix. I still think there's a good likelihood that either Denver or New England trades up ahead of Carolina to grab a QB, meaning we could have 4, potentially 5 QBs off the board by the time number 8 rolls around. And if that is the case, the Carolina Panthers could have the 3rd pick of skill or line players in this year's draft. Tell me there's not going to be some teams in the low to upper teens that aren't looking at a Patrick Surtain or a Jamar Chase if he's available there and skyrocket up. The point that we made, Lonzo, yesterday about that number 8 pick being exceptionally valuable just got more valuable because of what the Panthers themselves did by opening up the door for another team to jump up there in that slot. It's win-win all around for me. If Sam Darnold doesn't work out, so what? So what? It is what it is. You knew that this year had a potential of being a rebuilding year anyway. I think it's wins all around for the Panthers, though, and I'm not a Panthers fan. I got no reason to say that.
I completely agree, and I am. The Panthers are my NFC team, and I'm excited about this pickup. And it does open up doors to shore up other areas. And I do also agree, if Justin Fields were to fall, I think it would be a mistake to not take him also.
Yeah, if he's there, you got to take him. If he's there at 8, you got to take him. Or your other option is, if you really do believe in Sam Darnold, is you look at the other teams looking for a quarterback at 8. If Justin Fields is available, a guy considered a top 5 pick by most of us, and you go, yeah, man, we'll give you Fields straight up. But we want 2 firsts, a 2nd, and a 5th. And you make that happen. And I think the value's there for that. Quick break. Back after this to wrap up hour number 2 on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo, this is the ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
The best deal for golfers in the Upstate is back and better than ever. 9 premier Upstate golf courses are on the 2021 Upstate Golf Card for just $99. That is over $450 worth of golf for just $99, over a 75% discount. That works out to less than $1 a hole by like a lot, less than $15 around. The Preserve It Verde, Pebble Creek, Legacy Pines, the Rock Golf Club and Resort, Carolina Springs, Willow Creek, Links to Tryon, Rolling Green Golf Club, and the club at Brookstone are all on the card for you this year. You're not going to find a better deal no matter where you look. I promise. I've looked. I love golf. I've given it my all, and you're not going to find a better deal anywhere. So get yours now. Go to upstategolfcard.com, upstategolfcard.com, or search the Upstate Golf Card on both Facebook and Instagram to get your deal now. It is the perfect way to spend the spring and summer on the links with your amigos. It is the 2021 Upstate Golf Card.
All right, so I got I put my WrestleMania sign up. I know you probably saw me put it up. The problem is it doesn't show up on camera.
Yeah.
So now I've colored it in. I'm going to try it again. It's probably still not going to work, so I'm going to have to come up with another solution.
I thought last night, I was like, well, dude, I think I'm going to put up like a bad WrestleMania virtual background, but then I realized that StreamYard doesn't have the virtual background option. At least I haven't found it yet.
You can actually make your own background and then import it in. I haven't tried it before, but you also need to be careful about, trademarks and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, my son's going to say WrestleMania.
All right. Can you see my?
You can see it. Yeah.
Can you? Because right here it just doesn't. I can
you got to see. You got to look up to see what you're looking at. But for the gimmick, it's good enough.
Do you think if I put it lower, like underneath the Upstate Pulse, Upstate Pulse. Shameless plug.
Yeah, I think you can move it maybe over towards between, above, but between the two signs.
I'm gonna try this because I'm curious. Nope.
No,
well,
put it in that same spot, but above the signs. It'll give you a better pointing angle.
That's true. Although it's still going to be difficult looking at the camera.
You got to point up when you do it.
Yeah, I know, but it's still opposite of what.
No, just put it in the exact same spot or directly over the blue sign. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, it actually shows up now. Yeah, but you put me singular on the screen. It's when yeah.
Oh no, there it is. It was just the lighting getting set up. No, that's good.
That's better. Just actually quit looking at the camera and know that it's behind me and point that way. There we go.
Trust the hard cam, Zoe. Steven says, so did you see Godzilla versus Kong or not? Yes, I did. I saw it on Saturday. Nope, yes. What?
We talked about it yesterday on the show.
Friday night. Yeah. Friday night. And, yeah, I liked it. Look, I think you feel, and we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, if you went into this looking for a best original screenplay, you're going to be disappointed. If you went into it wanting to watch two ... giant monsters DDT each other through skyscrapers, then it was a great movie, which is all it was. I wanted a popcorn flick. In fact, my biggest concerns, though, was that there would not be enough giant monster fighting in the movie. There was I will say perfect. There was a correct amount of giant monster fighting in the movie.
There was, and there was also the sympathy that you had towards Kong and the building of his character, which was necessary for rooting interests. All right, so we have 30 seconds, and I just want to say that I've seen the Snyder Cut twice now, and you haven't even tried to watch it.
Nope, not yet. It's on the list.
He's never going to watch it, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to watch it. I really do.
It's an overdose. Visit justplainkillers.com.
Split up into 6 chapters.
Sports talk every weekday noon to 3. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Join us on the live stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate or on YouTube. If you have a smart TV, take that smart TV, put the YouTube app on it, search the Rob Brown Show, and you can throw me and Alonzo's beautiful, smiling, shining faces right up on your TV while you are working. So you don't have to miss the moment, and you can't get in trouble for goofing off on the internet, because as far as I'm concerned, though, if it's on TV, it's a TV show. And having a TV show in the background while you're working is completely acceptable around the world. Put us on your YouTube app, on your smart TV, and watch us. Don't miss a moment of the show. Plus, that way you can listen to all 3 hours of the Rob Brown Show every single day without getting in trouble. Coming up in the next hour of the show, a couple of troll jobs in the world of sports that took place on TV yesterday, both of which absolutely cracked me up. Plus, Paul Pierce has lost his job with ESPN. And I'm going to ask while we talk jokes about Paul Pierce losing his job, I'm going to ask a very serious question about the future of sports with ESPN and Disney getting even a bigger portion of the gig. Plus, the Carolina Hurricanes got back a major player yesterday. Will it open them up to making a deal to get better on the attacking line? I'm going to answer that question and more in the third hour. But now it's your opportunity to win $1,000 from the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. The key word for the upcoming 2 o'clock hour is boom, B-O-O-M, boom. Text that keyword to 72881 for your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate, powered by BetQL. Let BetQL's proven data and analytics help you become a better. Download the BetQL app today. Text and data rates may apply in this national contest. Again, this hour's keyword is boom, B-O-O-M. Text that keyword to 72881 for your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash. We're back with hour number 3 right after this on ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate.
Savannah, Leigh is coming up. I'm about to send you her contact information. It's all good, Steven. No worries at all. We only did it on the stream. I don't think we did it on the air, so you didn't. It's all good. But yeah, I thought it was good for a summer popcorn giant monsters beating the crap out of each other. That's all I wanted. I wanted to look at a screen and see a bunch of monsters throw down and whoop the crap out of each other, and that's exactly what they did. And that's all I wanted. In fact, Zoe and I have both said you could get rid of the human stories. From both, I think you needed the human story from Kong's side to make that character more sympathetic. But I think that you could have gotten rid of the entire background story, with the exception of why Godzilla was attacking, and done just fine. But I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was too, and they left the door open to go back in time. They left the door open, and this is what I'm most excited about. I think they left the door open. And Lonzo may have a different opinion or not, I don't know. They left the door open to go back to examine the war between the ancestors of Kong and the ancestors of Godzilla.
Well, definitely, you want to know where the axe came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how come Godzilla is so smart that he can learn sign language and also be able to realize that recess right there in the rock, I bet this axe would fit in there.
You mean Kong, not Godzilla.
My fault, Kong. I was watching the clock at the same time. That's my excuse. 10 seconds. I meant Kong!
ESPN Upstate. Warning.
Man, check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate, South Carolina. Great to be back with you. To the phone lines we go, because, ladies and gentlemen, it is one of my favorite weeks of the year, and it is back to where it is supposed to be. The azaleas and the magnolias are blooming, and Augusta, Georgia looks as pretty as she ever has. That's why we go to the phone lines and welcome in from the Brunswick News, my friend off the air and on our PGA Tour insider, Miss Savannah Leigh, joins us on the show. Savannah, what's up, girl?
How's it going? It's Masters Week. It's finally here. It's only like 142 days ago, but like I was counting down since then, and it's just like it's finally here. The azaleas are blooming. I have the taste of Masters coming to my house tomorrow. I'm going to be knee deep in pimento cheese, egg salad, and barbecue, and I am living for it.
I had somebody, Savannah, tell me the other day that they had never had a pimento cheese sandwich, and I just felt awful. I just felt awful. I was blown away. I don't understand how somebody could be deprived of the joys of life. I don't understand. So on Sunday, I'll be throwing a mini Masters party with a couple of friends, socially distanced, of course. And I have already got like 8 gallons of pimento cheese ordered so that I can change people's lives for the better, Savannah.
Well, that's good. Why didn't you order one of the Taste of the Masters, though?
Because I didn't know about it, and somebody has been holding out on me, apparently.
That was me, I guess.
Yeah. Savannah Leigh joining us here on the broadcast of the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Let's start with some individuals, and we're going to get you back on Friday. I feel like the Masters is worth a couple of segments, Savannah, going back to its regularly scheduled April time slot. Let's talk about Jordan Spieth, a guy that over 7 years has been in contention for a green jacket multiple times, a guy who has had a couple of top 3 finishes, a guy that has been really not performing well the last couple of years, but in his last handful of tournaments, he's got a fistful of top 5s. He got a win at the Valero last week, and the Masters is a place that seems to bring the best out of Jordan Spieth. He has had the biggest game in Vegas, opened last week with 50-1 odds, which put him right down in the bottom with guys like Tommy Fleetwood. Now he's just barely behind DJ and a couple of others of the top names on tour with 11-1 odds. Why is Vegas so interested in Jordan Spieth all of a sudden outside of that win at the Valero?
I think because when Jordan gets confident, scary things happen, or well, not scary things, but like good scary things happen. Because when he gets into that mode of knowing that he can, hit a shot the way he wants to, the way he can do whatever he needs to on a golf course to make it happen, I just feel like he's almost unstoppable. He dials into that whole mentality of absolutely nothing is going to stop me, and I am the greatest player on this golf course, regardless if anybody else thinks otherwise. And so I think that's one of the biggest things. But we've just seen his game get better and better and better since Phoenix, when he shot that 61, I believe it was Phoenix. But ever since then, it's just been like, okay, Jordan, is he back yet? Is he back yet? Yeah, I think Jordan is officially back. And coming into the Masters week with this much confidence, I think anything can happen. He's not necessarily my favorite this week or pick to win or anything, just because it's hard to win back-to-back weeks. But I think he's somebody that could really just come into Augusta this week with full confidence. I don't know if you saw the video on Twitter, but it was a guy in an Oldsmobile getting out all with his cane and walking, just strutting his step. And I just feel like that's what we're going to see, that little pep in his step that we're used to seeing from him. And I'd love to see him put on a green jacket just because I think it'd be good for the game. But it's that confidence, it's that swagger about him that he was missing. And when he got that win last week, I think it was when he put them fancy black boots on. He was like, oh, snap, here we go. We're going to win the Masters next week. I don't know. It really could happen. And I think it would shock most of the golf world, because I've seen so many people just being like, no, he's not going to do it. Y'all need to stop. He's not going to. But you never know.
Savannah Leigh from the Brunswick News, our PGA Tour insider, joining us here on the show to talk a little Masters. Another name, and this is a guy that I was very high on last year. In fact, I put a couple of bets on him to come up with some big wins in some big tournaments, and that's Collin Morikawa, a guy that has been playing as well with his mid to long irons as anybody on tour. In fact, I think right now he's either first or second in strokes gained courtesy of iron play. Made some noise in a couple of different spots, got hot in a couple of different spots last year, kind of faded out. Not that he was necessarily doing anything wrong, but he wasn't paying with the same place that he was earlier in the year. But all of a sudden, Collin Morikawa back on the map. People have taken notice. You got to have very impressive iron play to be in contention at Augusta. He's one of the best on tour right now. Where do we see his potential finishing spots?
I think he's someone that can really shine. He's been working on his putting game, and it's improving. throughout the last few weeks. And so I think he's someone that definitely could shine this week at the Masters. I mean, like you were talking about, his ball striking ability is something that we always recognize with Tiger and even Jordan. And it's cool because Jordan and Colin are playing together the first 2 days. So it'll be fun to see them kind of going back and forth. But he just needs to stay confident. I think the biggest thing with Augusta National is you have to be a really good ball striker and be able to place it, because the greens and stuff can be so tricky. And it's just, it's a risk reward kind of thing. But I think his confidence level has to be what it was when he won his major last year.
Rory McIlroy, another guy I'm very intrigued by this week, a guy that I'm keeping an eye on. Rory McIlroy comes into this with around the same spot that we just talked about with Jordan. He's sitting around 11-1, 12-1 odds, depending on which book you pick him up at. Rory is a guy that has obviously, Savannah, struggled the last couple. He's been trying to find his form. We were hoping that after the birth of his kid that he would regain some of that form, and he's gotten a little bit better, though he hasn't been the Rory McIlroy that we have been waiting on. But Vegas likes him. Vegas likes him to show up. Limited number of patrons in attendance this year. We don't know exactly how many. Augusta does not release attendance information, but we know there will be patrons on the course. Rory is a guy that seems to kind of feed off the crowd when he's in big spots. That may help him a little bit. Can he get his act together and be in contention on Sunday?
Well, we saw him fighting a little bit at the WGC match play and trying to get things figured out. And then he took last week off. And all I hope he's done is gone to the range with his coach and gotten back to the swing that we all know, love, and appreciate, because the whole thing of him trying to get the club head speed up and do all this, speed chasing things. And I just think it got away from his pure artistry of his swing and his ability to play the game. I want to go back to fiery Rory, the one that is just oozing with confidence and loves being out there. I think he's just going through a slump right now, and he could, and I just don't know. His game has been so far off lately. It's hard to really predict. I appreciate people thinking that he's got a good shot to win the Masters. I would love to see him get the Grand Slam after, so many years and stuff, but it's just like, I want to see it actually happen before I go to predicting that it's going to, because I feel like I did a few weeks ago when we chatted, and I kind of had to put my foot in my mouth because he just did not get it together. But I think go back to your normal swing, go back to that. It's just so pretty. I don't know why he even wanted to change anything with it or do anything different with it, because it was just so perfect. And I just want fiery Rory back. He even said, they asked him a question about what kind of dessert he would serve, and he said carrot cake. And I'm just like, Rory, what? No.
Wait, Savannah, I will not allow you to come on my airwaves and to besmirch carrot cake. It is delicious and a very underrated dessert.
Hold on. I like carrot cake, but to serve it as a Masters Champions dinner, I just don't know. Pair it with something else. Pair it with, give me pecan pie and carrot cake so I have an option. But
are you from Georgia and just said pecan?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pecan, Savannah. Why is this still one of the biggest issues facing American society? It's pecan.
Pecan, tomato.
Savannah Leigh joining us, and she may not join us again after this interview. Let me ask you this. I know that, and you and I've joked with you in the past about Bryson DeChambeau, and look, I love the dude because he's testing the limits. He's doing things on a golf course that people have never done before, and some folks love it like me. Some folks are not a fan. Have you seen the video of him hitting nukes off the range at Augusta with Vijay Singh just kind of standing in the back and smiling and laughing about it?
Yeah, I have.
Listen to that tone of voice. Oh my gosh, she just got so angry about it. What did you think when you watched it for the first time?
I was just like, I understand what he's doing. He's trying to get his speed up and everything, and he's practicing that. But at what point in a golf round are you going to be needing to do that? None. It's just it's walk, wait. Why I don't understand. I would love for him to describe or tell me exactly why he does that for in the like in practice rounds before competitive round. I understand like any other day of the week trying to do that so you can keep that speed or whatever, but like it just looked silly. It was just like, hey BJ, like he was like 10 years old. Hey BJ, watch this. I can hit it like 400 yards. And then he does it again and again and again. I'm like, okay, we get it. You can't hit it a mile long. Okay, cool. But like, what if he pulls his back muscles doing that or pulls something? And then now he wants to use this like prototype driver that's supposed to help him like stay more consistent on if he hits the ball on the toe. And I'm just like, aren't you supposed to hit the ball in the middle of the club face? I know it happens on the toe. I hit it on the toe, but it's just like, why are you trying to he's doing so much. And I'm just like, you are doing too much. And then, hey, did you see the video of him working out with his U.S. Open trophy? And I was just like, dude, I can lift that. And it looks like you're struggling. Like, just be yourself. And maybe this is himself, but it's just like you're doing the most in a game that just needs you to just play the play. I don't know. It's just a lot to take in. I don't think he'll win this week. I think he's going to try to bully the course again, and I don't think it's going to work for him. This course is so firm and fast. I don't know if it's going to work. And if it does, I'll eat crow like I do anytime he's won in the past where I said he wouldn't. But it's a lot.
Savannah Leigh joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. You can follow her on Twitter at SportsGirlSL, and I absolutely suggest you do as we head into Masters weekend. With that being said, and I know you just kind of hit on it, he's another guy that's a betting favorite. It's kind of, he plays, we know this, it's a high risk, high reward type of style. When Bryson is on his game and those bombs that are going 330, 332 are hitting the fairway, he's setting himself for really easy approach shots and spots that other guys are pulling out their middle irons. When it doesn't work for him, he's hitting 4 before he's on the green. We know that about Bryson's game. He knows that about his own game. But one thing I do like about the guy is that he doesn't lack in confidence, right? And I think that heading into Augusta, anybody who has any lack of confidence in their game will get torn apart by this golf course. That is why there are guys like Rory that I like, that I want to. I'm with you. I want him to go back to that high energy Rory McIlroy that wins tournaments. But if he is not fully confident in his game, he will be in trouble at Augusta. Bryson DeChambeau doesn't have that. Do you feel the same way about this course, that even if they maybe aren't the strongest players, the guys that hit this course with confidence in their game, that aren't afraid to go out there and earn strokes, are the better picks?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is the ultimate confidence course because, I mean, there's guys who've played it before who, have contended. Like Justin Thomas is another, is someone who I think likes to take aggressive shots at times. And I think it could pay off this week because after the whole Players Championship and winning, I think he got a little bit more confident in himself of knowing that, hey, I can grit through and I can work through tough rounds. I like people who are willing to take an aggressive approach. I just think you should have to take that aggressive approach while keeping it in the fairway and I know everybody hits it in the rough from time to time, hits it in the sand trap from time to time, but it just seems like, if you keep it in the fairway, you have a less likely chance of making a bogey than you do if you hit it in the rough. And so I think that's where this course plays into people who are confident in themselves, but understand that if I keep it in the fairway, I'm going to have a better shot at making a birdie or making par if I can't make my birdie putt. And I think that makes sense. Like, that's where I'm at, is I think Augusta is one of those places that you have to play fairways. Like, you have to keep it in the fairway. And I know we've seen some cool shots from Bubba and them in the past, but like, keep it in the fairway and you'll have a better chance of winning. And I know that's probably cliche, but I'm tired of people trying to cut corners. And I know all of them have done it, but it's just like, play the game. Like, their courses are set up the way they are, and that course is going to test the longest hitter and the shortest hitter, no matter where they take their lie. And so that's why I love Augusta National so much, is because it tests literally every person out there. So you have to have confidence. If you don't have confidence, then you're going to get chewed up. And if you do have too much confidence, you still may get chewed up. And so you have to find that perfect balance of being just the right level of confident. And I think that's where you'll find your winner.
Savannah Leigh from the Brunswick News and our PGA Tour Insider joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. We're going to save our pick. Actually, you know what? No, I lied to you because we're going to get you on Friday. We'll be midway through round number 2. So let's get you on the record. Your top 3 picks for Augusta this weekend.
Oh, man.
You knew this was coming. Come on.
No. Okay. So I feel like I'm obligated to throw Rory in there just because I'm a big Rory fan. I'd love to see him to finally do it. I think Justin Thomas is my second guy, and then a sleeper pick. I think maybe Victor Hovland finds some confidence down the stretch, and if he can make a cut, I think and be in contention. Victor Hovland is someone I think is just on the cusp of winning his first major, and it could happen this weekend.
I love it. I love the picks. They are on the record. We'll get Savannah back on Friday after we've got about a round and a half in the books to evaluate how the course is playing. But so far, from what I've been told, it looks absolutely beautiful. The flowers are in bloom. It is going to be as good looking as it ever has, especially since we have not had an April Masters in a couple of years now. Savannah Leigh, always my pleasure. I will get you scheduled for Friday. We'll get another round of Masters talk in. We'll get you back on next week to talk about the conclusion. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Look forward to Friday.
Always. Savannah Leigh, follow her on Twitter at SportsGirlSL. It will be a tremendous follow as we head into the Masters weekend. When we come back in just a minute, 2 hysterical troll jobs happened on sports TV last night. I'll tell you what they were when we come back in just a minute. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the helm, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
Okay, I decided to get the hiccups halfway through that, so pardon me for a minute while I try to fix that. That was perfect timing, Zoe. Can't hear you if you're talking to us, by the way.
Didn't know you had the hiccups because I still don't hear them. I did throw something up on Twitter while Rob was doing the interview. Pimento cheese is just like, you know what? I don't get the attraction of pimento cheese. Is it because it's tradition? It makes you think it's better than what it is. I just don't, it's not like if I eat it, I'll get sick, and it's not like I will completely shun it. But if there are other options, it will be my last option. And I just don't get the appeal of pimento cheese.
You know, I should compile the list of disagreements that you and I have had, and it wouldn't be a very long list. Like I would have barely, I wouldn't even be towards the bottom half of the first sheet of the first sheet of paper if I did so. But this one, if I was doing that, would go in big bold letters with a highlighter attached to it.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the taste of that cheese. Maybe it's I just don't see the attraction. I mean, sell me on pimento cheese why I should like it better. You can't, but try. It's just.
I mean, it's delicious.
Is it?
Yes.
I mean, it's all right. I'll dip a chip in it, a couple tortillas in it, and it's all right. As a sandwich, I'm just not down with cheese sandwiches. I need meat in my sandwich.
I don't know, man. Like it's got that little bit of tang to it from the mustard. It's got a little bit of fluff to it from the cream cheese. Like you throw some chives in there to change up the flavor.
As far as sandwich spreads go, I'd rather have the egg salad sandwich. I'd rather have a chicken salad sandwich. I mean, there's just, and I know that goes against what I just said about meat, but if I have to choose between egg salad sandwich and pimento cheese sandwich, I'm going with egg salad. And I am absolutely positive, without a doubt, that the majority of people agree with me and not with you. Even though we live in the upstate of South Carolina.
The Twitter poll we go, I feel like you're about to be proven incorrect.
I don't think so. I have every confidence that I'm right. Which is why you issue a challenge. You don't issue a challenge thinking you're going to lose. I mean, why would you do that? 1 minute. And then you'll get those. Well, you know why? Because you haven't had good pimento cheese. Really? I've had a ton of different kinds from the north and the south. And who knows, like a lot of other sandwich spreads where I used to work in grocery stores for a while and saw how things are made, maybe that soured it.
Pimento cheese is just cheese, mustard, and sour cream.
Are you sure?
Yes, and some chives if you want to flavor it up a little bit. Like of all the things that you could be out on because of their production process, like you ever seen how chicken nuggets are made?
More than the scores, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. Real, unfiltered sports talk. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
All right, on the Twitter poll, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate. We have got, we've got a poll up right now. Pimento cheese is A, delicious, B, bad, or C, okay, but down on the list of cheeses. That's the poll we have going on right now. Pimento cheese is A, delicious, B, bad, or C, okay, but down on the list of cheeses.
You know what? I just want to commend you for the choices here. Unlike other shows, like maybe that show for men, who don't give you legitimate choices where you can look at it and go, okay, I could pick one of these three, and good wording on your poll. I really appreciate that.
Well, I'm nothing if not fair, Lonzo. I mean, I'm correct, but also fair in proving it. In order to make homemade pimento cheese, you combine 2 cups shredded extra sharp cheddar cheese, 8 ounces of cream cheese, a half a cup of mayo, Duke's obviously, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cayenne pepper if you want some kick, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 jalapeno pepper seeded and minced if you want some kick, 1 4-ounce jar of diced pimento drained, and salt and black pepper to taste. You just beat them all together until it is a lump of deliciousness, Lonzo. Pimento cheese is fantastic.
All right.
I need you all on the poll right now to help me prove that Lonzo is incorrect.
I just figured out why you're so high on pimento cheese, because you managed to get your Duke's worship in there. In the ingredients, you put your Duke's worship in there. You're member of the Duke's cult, the Duke's mayonnaise cult. So it really comes down to, well, let me ask you a question, Rob Brown. If it were Hellman's mayonnaise inside of the pimento cheese sandwich, would you be able to tell the difference?
I don't know. I don't know is the answer, because I don't think, now if I'm eating pimento cheese, I am going with the cayenne and the jalapenos minced up and thrown down in there.
See, I've never had it.
You're going to get more spice than 10.
I've never had it with all that stuff. So that just changes the taste completely. Can you even taste the cheese with the jalapenos in
You know what, Lonzo? You know what I haven't done in a while that I think it's time for me to do? Maybe over the weekend.
What would that be?
I think it's time for a little cooking with bourbon and brown. I think it's time. I think I'm going to make, in honor of the Masters, I think on Thursday night, Lonzo, while I watch NXT TakeOver night number 2, I think on Thursday night, your boy may go live on the stream and make a little homemade pimento cheese. And then on Friday, I may very well bring you up some cheese and crackers for you to eat live on the air and give some thoughts about. That might have to happen.
Do I have to eat crackers?
No, you can just spoon the cheese, or you can throw it on some bread. We can make it into
all right. If you're going to bring crackers, it needs to be the fancy Ritz that aren't circles, but they're like whatever.
Oh, you're a cracker stickler.
Well, if you're going to
cracker 1%,
if you're going to eat some fancy cheese, you should eat it on a fancy cracker, should you not?
I mean, I'm not going to disagree.
I mean, the whole point is for it to be a sandwich, so it probably needs to be on some sort of bread. I prefer wheat and toasted, please.
All right, so 2 things. Number 1, I think Thursday night, while NXT TakeOver night number 2 is on, I'm going to do a little cooking with bourbon and brown. I'll go live. I'm going to make some homemade pimento cheese. Then on Friday, I'm going to bring it to Lonzo Friday morning so that he can try it live on the air. We'll get his reaction. And should the promo off come to fruition on Friday, Lonzo, should the promo off come to fruition, I think we know what your subject is. You're going to try the cheese, and then you can cut a promo on how good or bad it was.
Except for the fact that I thought we agreed we were going to allow the listeners to come up with. Yeah. So I mean, so it would have to be something that we haven't discussed already. So if a listener would go, I'm just going to say pimento cheese, well, that doesn't work. But if you want me to promo on pimento cheese, you're not saying whether I need to do a heel promo or a face promo.
I'm giving you option to go in on whatever character you want to go in on. I'm good with it.
I'm down. All
right. Speaking of heel moves, yesterday was the first day where Aaron Rodgers stepped into the shoes of Alex Trebek and guest hosted one of my favorite shows of all time as a huge trivia dork. That is Jeopardy. Well, you will remember that back in the NFC Championship game of this year, the Packers taking on Tom Brady and his Patriots, and the Packers down late in the game decided well inside the red zone to kick a field goal, a decision that has been lamented and roasted by many of us that are NFL fans, especially folks like Zoe, who wanted to see Tom Brady suffer and fail in the NFC Championship game. Well, yesterday, as Aaron Rodgers hosted his first day on Jeopardy, they went to Final Jeopardy. They asked a question that one contestant did not know the answer for, and here is what happened.
Over to our two-day champion on the end. Scott, did you come up with the correct response? Who wanted to kick that field goal? That is a great question. Should be correct, but unfortunately for this game today, that's incorrect, and you're going to lose 0. Thank you for that, and congrats on your 2-day win streak.
So the dude says, Brent says to Aaron Rodgers, as the answer to Final Jeopardy, who wanted to kick that field goal? Rodgers went speechless, dropped his head to the ground, started laughing quietly under his breath, and rolled with the punch. I got to tell you, Lonzo, I kind of didn't hate Aaron Rodgers as the host of Jeopardy, if we're being honest. I kind of think he killed it. And the fact that he got trolled and rolled with the punch was spectacular.
I wish he would have answered the question.
Me too.
I would have liked to have heard him answer that question.
LaFleur, moving on. Yes, I would have loved to hear the answer to that question. But that was not the only troll job that took place yesterday on national television. Yesterday, there was a game between the Anaheim Angels and, yes, of course, the Houston Astros. Back in 2019, we remember the cheating scandal in which the Astros were caught banging trash cans in order to tell pitchers, tell their batters what was coming next from the mound. Well, yesterday, the Angels fans had a little fun on ESPN, and here's what it sounded like.
Suzuki was kind of upset that first pitch was called a strike. So, trash can on the field.
I'm guessing that's an inflatable trash can that has been shared on the field. I don't know that I've ever seen an inflatable trash can.
I don't know that I've ever seen an inflatable trash can. As the Angels fans threw not just one inflatable trash can onto the field, Lonzo, they threw 3 or 4 and then started throwing real trash cans out onto the outfield to the point that Angels security had to go guard the outfield wall so that Angels fans would stop trolling and taunting the Astros by launching trash cans out onto the outfield while they were at bat. Beautiful job, Angels fans.
I got to say, I completely agree. I didn't know there were inflatable trash cans. I would like some of those. We need some of those for the studio just to throw at each other. And then the real trash can hits the ground, and I feel bad for the poor guys who have to go over and pick up the trash and put it back into the can. It looked like there was a partially eaten hot dog and some things like that. So Again, it's their job, but don't make their job harder by doing that. And they had to know this stuff was coming. And it's only going to get worse with all the attention it's getting right now.
I hope it never ends. I hope it never ends. I hope just forever it's people launching inflatable trash cans directly at Astros players. I hope it never ends. Forever live with the shame. Wear that scarlet trash can proudly on the jersey.
But see, if you're an Astros outfielder, don't you pick up one of those trash cans and go full on WWE and just nail the center fielder with it or something? I would have some fun with it. Take the ammunition away from them, literally, and turn it into something else. And if you have fun with it, then people may stop doing it.
844 GSP ESPN 844-477-3776. 40 votes on the poll so far. Pimento cheeses, A, delicious, B, bad, or C, okay, but down on the list of cheeses. 40 votes so far in just about 12 minutes. Pimento cheeses, A, delicious, 62.5% of the votes. Bad, 20% of the votes. Okay, but down on the list, 17.5% of the votes. If you combine bad and okay, but down on the list, they are still 21% short of the amount of votes that delicious has. I told you, Zoe. Trust the listeners.
So you're going on a poll that's been out for what, 15 or 20 minutes, and you're declaring yourself victorious over such a small sample size. How long is the poll up? Do you have it up? 24 hours.
Let's end on the air tomorrow.
We'll see what happens in 24 hours. If you are like me and pimento cheese is meh, just vote that way. Just vote that way. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everyone you know to vote meh, and don't let Rob win this.
Haters gonna hate. It's delicious, and you will see when the results are. Hold real quick. Breaking news: the Brewers and the Braves have lined up on a rare early season trade involving 3 players on the team's 40-man rosters. The Brewers are sending infielder Orlando Arcia to the Braves in return for right-hand relievers Patrick Weigel and Chad Saboka. Per announcements from both teams, Weigel and Saboka will report to the Brewers' alternate training site. A bit of a surprise to see a trade of note taking this place early in the season. Arcia's role with the Brewers has diminished in recent years. The hope at one point was that it'd be the long-term answer at shortstop, but Luis Urias now looks to be the preferred option. Arcia has been seen as some time at third base this year, but Travis Shaw made the Brewers opening day roster and will serve as the primary option on the corner. Arcia is 1 for 11 to start this year's season, but he turned in perhaps the best showing of his career last summer when he batted .260, .317, .416 through 189 plate appearances. That being said, it's somewhat disappointing for that output to represent a career best showing for Arcia, given he was once ranked amongst baseball's top 10 overall prospects. The Braves don't have a need for an everyday shortstop. Dansby Swanson has the position locked down, but Arcia gives them a utility option with a solid glove. 4,250 career innings at short. Not a surprise that Atlanta is comfortable sliding him over to either second base or third if they need him. Adrianza has been filling that role with the club, although there's some uncertainty surrounding his status at the moment. He left the club to tend to personal matter recently and was reportedly in the process of going through intake testing to return to the club. He is expected to return this weekend. Arcia joins Adrianza, John Camargo, and Pablo Sandoval as utility options off the bench for Brian Snitker. Although the Braves can't carry that many backup infielders simultaneously, both Arcia and Camargo have a minor league option remaining. Arcia is the more expensive of the two options, but he does give the Braves some flexibility. So that is an interesting trade. Let's take a break. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo back in the studio. One segment left, then Twitter Trending Topics wraps it up on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
You ready? Get that text.
So what are the chances that Diesel takes my WrestleMania sign down?
85%.
Do you think he even notices? He's very, very, I don't know the word. but he's very that. So he will. I'm thinking he will notice.
He's very, very that. Happens to the best of us.
I think it might mess with his feng shui.
Oh, that's true. He's big on the feng shui.
Yeah, he might feel an itch, in the right shoulder or something, and trying to figure out why, and then suddenly notice my poorly drawn little poster there.
There's a disturbance in the force. Look at that. Look at that beautiful sign, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have to talk WrestleMania next segment so that Zoe can point at it while staring into the hard cam.
If I were a little more devious, which of course I'm not, I would just change that entire wall into something that says WrestleMania on it.
What do you think they do with the old WrestleMania backdrops after it's over?
I don't know. LED helps with a lot of stuff now.
But they're still like at 30, they had a huge jester's crown over the board. I wonder if they store those or if they break them down. And if you had the chance to purchase a WrestleMania backdrop, would you do it for decor in the man cave?
If it was affordable, without a doubt, yeah. Even if it draped and covered every poster I had in the office, I would put it in the office all the way.
Inside of a WrestleMania backdrop?
Yeah, actually, I'd put it in here. Why not? We can get rid of some of the stuff on the wall and just put nothing but WrestleMania all the way around the room.
Sign and a random Ken Griffey Jr. pop stand in the back. I'm for it.
Why not? Or maybe I would put it in Diesel's office. Diesel / Mark Ryan's office. Nothing but WrestleMania all the way around. I probably couldn't get away with saying, "Hey, man, I don't know what you're talking about." or I could blame it on the Rise guys, and that would be believable.
Yeah,
because they are also wrestling fans and are not above doing something like that, like swiping stand-ups from another room and kidnapping them and putting them in the office for a long period of time. They're not above that. I just want to say, Darth Chosen, too far. Too far, dude. Too far. Too much. You're always on the edge anyway, man. That's it's a little much. Rob hasn't agreed with me, so maybe he's okay. But for me,
my response to said tweet.
Oh yeah. I guess I didn't realize that was you. Yeah. Okay. That is perfect how LeBron is looking up at that. Yeah, okay.
Pimento Cheese is Delicious has taken an even deeper lead in our poll so far, now up to 66.7%, 0.1% away from Lonzo making a very large joke about it.
It's not 100%. So that means there are people out there like me.
Oh, I didn't say there weren't people who agreed with you. I just said you're the minority here.
Doesn't mean I'm wrong. Coming back.
Made for upstate sports junkies.
These pathetic junkies? Oh, look at them.
You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show, noon to 3 every weekday on ESPN Upstate.
Brandon says more on the Astros. The Oakland A's host the Astros last Saturday. Played Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats while announcing the Astros starting lineup in the stadium. Pure gold. Keep it coming. Never forget. I'm fine with it. I love it. I love it. A text has come in that says ESPN pimento cheese is garbage, quote unquote. I will tell you that that pimento cheese has deepened its lead as being considered delicious amongst the voters. Now it is up to a 66.7% of the vote lead. It's only 45 votes. We're very, very early. We're in the early voting period. Still have a full 23 and some change hours to go before the poll finalizes. But I'm not sweating this one yet.
Pimento cheese is the spam of the sandwich spreads. It's I mean, people act like they like it, but they don't really. They don't really. It's just no. Come on, people. You don't really like pimento cheese. You're just trying to be agreeable with Rob, and I don't know what you're getting out of it. I really don't. So pimento cheese, let's say you got the chicken salad sandwiches there. You've got the pimento cheese salad or whatever you want to call it. You got your egg salad sandwich. Let's think of another spread. I don't know, mystery meat spread right there. You don't know what's in it. Which one are you choosing? You're going to choose pimento cheese over all those.
I mean, that's an unfair question because you're creating a situation where I have to only pick one forever. And the answer is it would depend on the mood. But yeah, I would say 7 out of 10 times I'm going with the pimento cheese. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
On our stream.
I'm a fan of bold flavor.
Good for you. On our stream, Keegan says, so would you rather eat a spoonful of mayo or a spoonful of pimento cheese? If the mayo was anything other than Duke's, I will go with the mayo because I refuse to conform like others have.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, the upstate, Lonzo.
Nonconformist. I want that in my title.
Taking swings at your identity here, man. Taking swings at your identity. 844-GSP, ESPN, Texas, 71307. That poll will be up all the way until mid-show tomorrow. So you will have plenty of time to head over to twitter.com/ESPN Upstate and tell us if pimento cheese is A, good, B, bad, or C, okay, but down on the list of cheeses. Ladies and gentlemen, your vote matters. All right? Your vote matters. That's so bad of a take. I thought it was Mark Ryan.
One word comes to mind, osmosis.
Oh, man. Mark's getting taken down on a topic about cheese. How about that? Ladies and gentlemen, I do.
He would never take a stand like I did. He's probably pro pimento, especially if he finds out, like Rob said, it has Duke's mayonnaise in. He's going to be right there. Oh yeah. I'm in. Not me. I choose to stand on my own. I choose to stand alone. Lonzo Island is a beautiful place, and I spend a lot of time there.
Negating the enjoyment of an awesome thing just to be the guy that says, oh, I don't like that thing that everybody else likes, is punishing yourself for no reason. Nobody's going to hear Lonzo say pimento cheese is good and then go, what a conformist. They're going to go, good. He enjoys the pleasures of life.
By the way, I want to clarify. When I was a kid, I didn't like it when I was an adult. I didn't like it when I moved here, so I'm not going to like it now. And when I say I don't like it, it's not like I hate it. I will eat it if there's nothing else available and be okay with it. But it leaves a really bad aftertaste. There's something that's not feeling the way it should be. It's not. I don't understand eating a food because it's popular. I don't get that.
Eats it because it's popular. It's popular because it's delicious. All right. You're making the assumption that people only do things because it's popular.
Why is it only brought up this time of year? I mean, around Christmas, I don't hear, we're getting out the pimento. You need to come over for the party.
You don't hear people getting all yoked about honey baked ham except around Easter weekend. It's not like anybody in November is like, yo, honey baked ham time, son.
But by the way, I got to disagree with you there. There are honey baked ham stores. They're not only open for Easter, they're open all year round. There are no pimento cheese stores, and they're open all the time. No.
There are absolutely cheese stores that sell pimento cheese, and
no.
You can get pimento cheese around the calendar. Why
specific pimento cheese stores there are not.
All right, there are making an arguments because you have a belief, and then there are sometimes you make an argument just to be a contrarian. I'm not accusing you of that, Zoe, but you're totally doing that right now.
I am not doing that. I don't like. I don't like it, and I'm not gonna. I every year when Masters rolls around, pimento cheese. Really, I don't hear you talking about how good it is any other time of the year. You are just eating it. I'm not talking about you specifically, Rob. I'm talking about people only eat pimento cheese around this time of year because it has to do with Masters, and they want to be popular and they want to be like everybody else. Look at me, I'm enjoying my pimento cheese because I'm a Masters fan.
People
good for you.
Only drink mint juleps because they're popular because of the Derby. They drink them around the clock.
I have never heard of anyone drinking a mint julep any other time except for during the Kentucky Derby.
Hello, my name's Rob, and if it's nice and hot outside and I'm in an outside bar, I will absolutely grab a refreshing mint julep. Stop judging people, Lonzo. Quick break. Twitter trending topics, abbreviated version, because apparently Zoe needs to be corrected on his life choices. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
I can't stop watching the poll now. The lead now over 68% for good.
On the 106.3 WORD Weather Center, here's the update's most trusted forecast on ESPN Upstate. We'll see sunny skies here this afternoon. We'll see high around 82.
Oh, pardon me, America.
Wednesday, sunshine high 81 degrees. Thursday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy highs 64. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Bucci on ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 81.
Listen every hour from 7 to 5 weekdays for the keyword. Text it to 72881. Text and date to live this special contest. You could be the winner of a big jumping 11 times a day. Powered by BetQL. Let BetQL's proven data and analytics help you become a better bet with a BetQL today.
When you think about spring, good stuff springs to mind. You know, like spring break. A friend springing for drinks. A springing new step. Spring beer. And best of all, spring water dough pizza from the mellow mushroom on Augusta Street in Greenville's West End. When you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor, they're focused on you, ready to offer tailored solutions powered by your Dell G Pro platform to keep your small business ready for what's next. Call a Dell Technologies advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. Spectrum Mobile has the most reliable service coast to coast with the fastest speeds overall. And nationwide 5G is included with our plan. Switch and you can save up to 40%. Visit SpectrumMobile.com today.
Introducing Fidelity Income Planning. We look at how much you've saved, how much you need, and help you build a straightforward plan to generate income, even when you're not working. A plan that gives you the chance to grow your savings and create cash flow that lasts. Plus, you can start, stop, or adjust your plan.
You know, I sometimes wish that I was just offensive on these things just to be offensive, but I'm not. I remember working in the grocery store and seeing in the deli how much different things were, you know, people would come in and buy them. And that pimento cheese tub was always full. And it wasn't because they kept replacing it. It was because no one was buying it. Now, there's every chance that the deli guy making the pimento cheese didn't make it very well. That's a possibility. When products like Souse are selling better, that just tells me, and you know, it could be a north-south thing. I don't know, maybe. But when Souse is outselling pimento cheese, that says a lot. And
Okay.
have you had Souse before?
Souse?
Souse,
Oh, I thought you were
yes.
saying salsa.
Oh, no. Salsa, I completely understand that. No, Souse. Look it up.
No, I don't know what Souse is.
Yeah, and I don't know how to spell it either. So, I mean, there's that.
You can't help me at all.
Let's go with SAUSS or something like that.
Souse.
And well, Progressive can't save you from these trolls. We can help you save money on commercial auto and business insurance.
30 seconds.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliated with third-party insurers.
This video is sponsored by Molina Healthcare. Health coverage you need, close to home. Molina Healthcare. Molina has 20 years of experience and covers maternity and newborn care, adult baby care, online doctor visits, and more. Details go to leanonmolina.com. Let the care you want. Lean on Molina.
Time for Twitter trending topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet and he will tell us what he knows about it. And pimento cheese is not trending, by the way.
Not yet.
All right. The first thing trending is Jason X.
Jason X. I'm assuming we're talking the famous horror genre here.
We are.
Jason, I don't know why it's trending at all. I have not actually watched it. I know that Jason X was kind of a pinnacle of the gore slasher in the modern era. And that one had like a mecha Jason in it, didn't it?
It did. Also, Dead Space is trending in The Thing, and here's the reason why. Journalist Elle Hunt, no idea who she is, has put out there that horror cannot be set in space. And it is causing a bunch of horror films and sci-fi films to trend.
It almost sounds to me, Lonzo, like she is expressing a contrarian viewpoint that has no basis just for the sake of riling people up. That's almost what it sounds like. I can't imagine what it would sound like if somebody did that.
Well, not being able to hear her tone, I can't say for sure that that's what she's doing. She might, as a journalist, really believe that. She's dead wrong, of course, because horror can happen anywhere at any time. It can be in space. It can be in another dimension. It can be in your basement. It's horror. I just don't. And so people are now throwing up there, was Alien a horror film or a sci-fi film? So it's causing a lot of debate, but it's both.
Yes. I'm good with that.
Same with Dead Space. All right. We got time for one more. Jim Rome.
Listen, the only thing that we'll ever talk about when Jim Rome gets talked about on the air is when Jim Everett put Jim Rome on his punk behind, knocked him down because he wouldn't stop calling Jim Everett Chris Everett. Chris Everett, Jim Everett said, if you do it again, I will take you out. Rome did it again because he thought he was a funny guy, and Chris Everett / Jim Everett absolutely wiped him off the stage. Jim Rome has apologized for that many, many times. But
27 years ago today is when that incident happened.
oh, it was today. Happy birthday, Jim Rome's ass getting him knocked on top of it. It is time for your keyword for the 3 o'clock hour and the $1,000 cash dash. Today's keyword for the 3 o'clock hour is plant, P-L-A-N-T, plant. Text that word to 72881. 72881, powered by BetQL. Let BetQL's proven data and analytics help you become a better. Download the BetQL app today. Text PLANT, P-L-A-N-T, to 72881 for your chance to win $1,000 in the $1,000 cash dash on ESPN Upstate. Mark Ryan and and Diesel are up next on Offside. Y'all enjoy that. We'll be back tomorrow to try all over again. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. This is